Hello there and welcome. So today's AMA is going to be one of the best yet after last night's announcement, and we're all on edge of our seats to find out more about Supremacy World. We'll be opening up the floor to answer any of your questions based on what you hear today, so raise your hand and you'll be invited to speak. Alternatively, write down your questions in the AMA chat and I'll ask them for you. Today we're joined by Matt, our creative director, Morgan, our lead game designer, and as always, our CEO, Alex. So, hello everyone. How are we doing this fine morning?
Good, thanks, Raj, and thanks for that. Thanks for that great intro. Thanks everyone for joining us. This is going to be a fun AMA, and I've noticed the questions have been rolling in since we posted the blog post last night, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, let's go.
Cool. So, everyone, including myself, has been so excited to hear about Supremacy World. So, let's start simple. What is Supremacy World?
So, Supremacy World is essentially the. So, if you think of one of the definitions of the metaverse is where the real meets the internet, right? Which I thought was always kind of wanky, but illustrative. The Supremacy World is essentially where all of the different pieces and interfaces of Supremacy connect together, and the player character navigates and moves between them. It's where all the logistics happens. It's where all the commerce happens, and it's where the stories of the actual humans are explored. So, they're obviously very connected to the mechs, and it's where a lot of the mech stuff happens as well. But the focus is absolutely more on the familiar character, the human.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you. And so the next sort of question is, when can I look to be able to play in Supremacy World?
The So we're aiming for an ambitious alpha release of Q1 next year, and hopefully there'll be like a lot more interaction between like players and Supremacy World even before then.
Cool. So yeah, I guess this question sort of pertains to more to Matt. So Matt, how you doing?
Doing very well, thanks, Raj. Yeah.
Great. So how does Supremacy World tie into the battle arena and the greater Supremacy law?
Yeah, so supremacy law has really been the culmination of a year of work. We've seen it in the simulation game, the text game, where we kicked that off, I think, in late January 2022. And sort of it emerged into the wiki that was built out, which is a pretty deep wiki. Got a lot of lore, obviously, around the three different factions, and then the wider world and the overseer and all of that. And so the Supremacy World kind of ties it all together, which is great. And so it's almost like finally we can tell the full story. And as Alex said before, that as characters, as people in the game, as humans sort of navigating the world, it's not just the mechs anymore. But of course, the battle arena is still a critical part of it, and always will be. I mean, the battle arena, the mechs, that's our sport. That's permanently played and broadcast throughout the world on all the big screens, and everybody's aware of the champions in the battle arena, the live stream 24/7 event. But the whole lore itself is aligned. We have this alignment, and it just gives us a lot of confidence as we're building out this project that we've sort of taken our time to introduce the open world and Supremacy World, but it has meaning at all stages. It all sort of ties in really neatly together, which is just a dream because it just gives us such a great foundation for which to build these other metaverse games that will sort of lay on top of the lore in the world. So, as we know, in Boston Cybernetics, it's in the northeast of the USA. It's got a secure city of Boston Prime. And then Red Mountain, it's in the Australian continent, the city of Iron Core, Zaibatsu, and the former islands of Japan. And it's got the secure city of Neo Tokyo. So we've built out that, and that's been well known. And the battle arenas that occur in those various factions. So, for example, Boston, we have Arctic Bay and MIBT. Red Mountain, we've got Desert City, Iron Dust 5. Zaibatsu, we've got Kazuya City and the Sea of Trees map. So these battles are happening as they roll out in conjunction with the actual factions and the AI in control of those factions. But we go a step deeper now with Supremacy World. So we're starting to look at the maps. So very soon the actual maps of the cities will be released, and the maps of the inner cities, which is super exciting. So we're going to be able to see inner city apartment blocks and towers. So in Boston Cybernetics, you'll be able to see Arcadia Rise. And in Red Mountain, you'll be able to see Corbin Flats. And in Zaibatsu, you'll be able to see Danchi Neon. And so you'll be able to see the location of these towers and these inner city apartments in relation to the AIs of that faction. So Zaya, you'll be able to see why Zaya Hall is on the map. You'll be able to see where RedNet is located, where Bostan is located. So it's super exciting to be able to finally, with confidence, lay down these maps and say, yeah, this is our world. This is what we've created. The battle arena will always be there. It's a massive part of our economy. And what I think sets us apart as a project is that we have these three fully developed worlds. And I mean, we're not just building one city and one project here, where it's almost like three metaverse cities with an underlying economy and the circular flow that goes through that, the trade that goes through that, and the resource development that goes through that. So we've got the economic development around the mechs, the broadcasting of the mechs, but then this seething, dark, cyberpunk-inspired cities in the 22nd century. So yeah, it's.
I want to just jump in and make it clear that when Matt says cyberpunk, he means the art style, not necessarily the game. Although we obviously are inspired by the game too, which was a really good realization of that style.
Definitely, yeah. It's the genre we're talking about. I think Cyberpunk 77, the game, they're a bit cheeky in actually taking the whole genre name as their game name.
Yeah, it'd be like if I created a building, a game where you design buildings, and I called it Art Deco. But at least the recreation was really good, so we'll give them a pass.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, I can't speak for everyone else here, but I've loved the cyberpunk aesthetic, since Blade Runner, which actually predates me. So it's when I was old enough to watch Blade Runner.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's 2 Blade Runner films there. The Altered Carbon. I mean, there's been a string of games as well with cyberpunk themes. I mean, you could say Matrix is sort of a cyberpunk world. I mean, there's familiar tropes there, but we're giving it definitely our unique spin on the genre as well, and moving it forward.
Well, I think mech games are obviously usually very military focused, which makes sense, and Supremacy is no exception. But Supremacy World allows us to explore further than just the military and just the war, and also explore stories that will give an insight into how that war impacts our world.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's something for everyone as well, and that's the point. If you like your battle arena games, we've got you covered. If you like your first-person shooter, that's coming soon. If you like your economic simulation and resource management, yeah, we got it. Looking at PvP in the cities as well, which is something I'm really pumped about as well. But all aligning with this central narrative that we've developed over a long period of time, and we've been really intentional with this. I mean, this isn't something we haven't really had sudden moves. We haven't been jumping around. We've got a large and expanded, but we've been intentional in our design, our character design, and I think we're going to reap the benefits of that over the next few years for sure.
Yeah, Supremacy World was always the initial focus from an internal perspective. The battle arena is it was a quick way to introduce our world and get the start of the economy going. I will say we probably underestimated, one, how many people would jump in and take it very seriously, and two, how much we would enjoy that, and then dedicate real resources to continually improving it. I mean, the battle arena that you see now versus the battle arena we launched in February and got stable in March is worlds apart. But the work on Supremacy World and the environments and the lore and the general idea of it has been there right from the start. And if you listen to AMAs and read content going way back to last year, there's hints of it everywhere. All right, Raj, what do we got?
Well, sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute. My bad. So yeah, the question: when and how will I be able to buy into Supremacy World? And will we be working with our new partner, Immutable, for this release?
So, as detailed in the blog, the founders packs will be our first asset sale for Supremacy World, and is really it's a pre-sale that, whilst not completely locked down, is absolutely dedicated to our community, and is the intro for our community into Supremacy World and the assets. That happens on I gotta think, different time zones here. It's the 2nd of November PST from memory. I should probably brush up on that. But next week, basically. Obviously, as we get closer to that, we'll release way more information and websites, and there's a Discord bot that will be joining soon that will assist community in collaborating with the asset sale and a bunch of other stuff. And we absolutely are working with Immutable X on this, obviously, and Immutable really gives us the opportunity to do some cool stuff in the background on this one.
Great. And sort of just on that, why is now sort of the best time to announce Supremacy World into the roadmap? And how much land are we looking to be sort of selling in this release?
I mean, that's a really complex question, sorry, that I can't answer entirely. We feel this is the best time because I've been leaking it for the last month, and I'm getting a lot of questions, especially DMs and things like that. And we've also had a lot of people reach out wanting to work with us on this stuff that they're seeing, and not necessarily the battle arena, which has a high high barrier to entry and a steep learning curve, I've been told. I think that's not entirely fair, but that's another question for another day. But seeing this content, people have been excited, and that's just from stuff I've been leaking generally on my Twitter. So it felt like the right time. You know, there's a lot of pressure for us to reveal more, and I don't want to just keep doing that through leaks. The other side of it is, you know, we now have enough like environments and gameplay that we can start releasing proper previews and get people really excited. So we can actually spend a decent amount of time now from here to let's say alpha release to really excite our community and bring more people into it who might have written us off as just a mech battle arena, you know, whilst there's a lot more than that.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, Matt, just in terms of, you know, what happens when you die in the game, you know, is my, you know, sort of apartment going to be secure, or someone's asking, will I have to sleep with one eye open?
So I'm just going to jump in ahead of Matt. I'm really sorry, Matt. I just Matt is our creative director and comes up with the amazing storylines. And if I let him answer this question of what happens when you die, it may take us down paths that we might find hard to commit to. So I'll jump in, and then I'll probably pass to Morgan, because whilst it definitely ties in with story and lore, game design generally for this kind of thing comes first, and then economic design. And I don't want to commit too much to this one, and I'm Morgan probably wants to commit to even less. But I will say that death in Supremacy, as I hinted in the blog, is going to be like serious. You know, you're not just going to respawn and continue on with your character. We will definitely take inspiration from sci-fi such as Altered Carbon, and I know for a fact that Matt is going to take you know, those kind of influences and create some awesome storylines and lore around it. But it will definitely be something you avoid. You know, you avoid getting killed, and you avoid taking risks that will get you killed. It's important. Now, obviously, with NFTs, you own your assets, and you know, we're not going to like kill a character and you don't get to keep your assets. But there will be, yeah, I guess something like Grand Theft Auto, where you wake up at the hospital and you've spent 5,000, you know, GTA dollars. Something akin to that, but something like a bit more prescient in a large connected world with a lot of emergent stories. Now I'm going to hand over to Morgan, who'll answer it in a little bit more detail.
What was the question? Sorry, I had to run off for a minute there.
What will be the ramifications for death? And I basically said we're not committing to anything, but it will be serious.
Yeah. So obviously, Matt and Alex have been talking about the whole concept of this essentially like MMO connected world, and a lot of what the sort of general vibe and feel and like experience concept of a lot of all of it. And that's like kind of the fundamental, you know, underpinning of most games, is like, what is it that we're setting out to create in terms of an experience for players, and like what do all of these different games that we're putting together mean when they interact. But in terms of like a lot of specifics, it's still all very early days in that regard. Like for most of my time here at Ninja so far, I've been very, very focused on the battle arena, and shifting over to, well, not shifting over, but shifting some of my attention to Supremacy World has been like a gradual process. So as Alex said, I can't really commit to like specifics. I can talk about sort of examples of things. I can talk about possibilities and like spaces that we'll be able to fiddle around in. But like Alex said, the general concept is that obviously, like, ultimately, players will have, I guess, like permanent resources or assets and more ephemeral ones. And the ephemeral ones are the ones that you might actually be truly risking when you have any kind of trouble happening or potentially die in the game. But if people are worried about, losing things like NFTs or the sort of stuff that they wouldn't expect to be losing, abruptly, that's definitely not on the cards, really. So, but otherwise, yeah, there'll be some kind of penalty like there is in a lot of games that are like this. But at the same time, we have to get the ratio correct between how dangerous you expect the world to be, just in a general sense, to how much you would expect to be losing from that. Like, the more frequently a player expects to die, the less of a penalty you'd want to expect from that happening. And then the inverse is true as well. If it's a very rare occurrence, then it would want to be something relatively serious. I would draw a fairly strong comparison to say like how EVE Online manages things. So you'll be in your ship out in space, which is obviously a very temporary item. Like, well, most ships are considered relatively temporary items. They're going to get blown up at some point, and that's okay. And then once you do get blown up, you pop out in a little pod where your pilot is, and you can just fly off. And usually pods get left mostly alone, but sometimes you do get podded, as the phrase was, where they blow up your pod and they kill your actual, like, the clone that is currently your avatar. And when that happens, you do lose stuff. And it can be really serious based on like the sort of implants and whatnot that you have in that clone, which is all very much of a voluntary kind of thing. But you could also just lose basically nothing. And that's kind of the sort of risk reward and player decision making in terms of like what they're willing to risk, that we would kind of be wanting to get a lot of inspiration from, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the concepts I've been thinking about is say you die and you have some premium insurance that that your personality, your brain is uploaded to the cloud, and you can inhabit a new body or a synthetic body. If you don't have insurance, then your character dies, and you have to will your belongings and assets to a new character. There's a few concepts like that. Obviously, when we release the alpha, the way death is handled will not be how it's handled in the full release. Because alpha is all about actually seeing how the game mechanics work in a live environment, and being able to balance things quickly and perfect it. So the actual punishment for dying in that environment makes sense to kind of be too oppressive. But when we go full release, it'll be fully fleshed out, and there definitely will. It definitely will be something you want to avoid heavily. There's, personally, I believe games in which you're concerned about dying are actually far more fun and often a bit slower paced because taking risks is something you have to calculate, not just something you do because you're seeking dopamine.
So essentially, you've got to treat it as if it's, your own IRL person, only take risks if you're willing to, either pay for the consequences or, reap the rewards after.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not that far. Like we definitely won't have full permadeath, but there will be, there'll be ways in which it's very close to permadeath. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
All right, cool. So yeah, I guess we can move on to another question here.
Well, I did jump in and snatch this question rudely off Matt. So, Matt, is there anything from a law perspective that you were hoping to talk about on this subject? I think Matt may not realize his mic is muted, or he's gone to get a coffee. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, no, sorry, rookie error. Yeah, I probably don't want to add too much to that, but there are definitely different avenues we can take. I think it's a gameplay experience. It's about getting people excited about the game, and when I say game, I mean multiple types of games. So
Game of life kind of thing.
yeah, that's right. I mean, allowing people to understand consequences, but to build assets. And I mean, Web3, digital ownership, that's critical to all this as well. I mean, there's some people who love the gameplay and that fast action and whatnot. But there's other people who love the economy and love building things and resources. And we want to satisfy both types of personality and both incentives and even have them work together. So with the player syndicates, you have your ACE pilot, your mech pilot as part of your team. You might have a couple of managers, you might have some resource analysts. Then you got the people who are actually out doing the transport, out doing the mining itself. So all of that. And you might not be playing just by yourself. You could be representing your syndicate. So death in that sense might have consequences for your place in the syndicate and the faction. And of course, we're looking at sort of quests as well to propel and give incentives in that way as well. So risk reward, there might be a situation you could walk into a social space and you have to make a quick decision as to whether you're going to go the large contract kill or do you take the safe option. And so we have to balance that with the consequences of those types of actions. And yeah, there's some of the conversations that we're moving to now.
Yeah, I would say that, like, I guess listening to the two of you talking about, what is Supremacy World earlier, I was thinking about how I would sort of phrase it if somebody asked that question of me as the lead designer. And I guess the way that I would put it would be that the glue that holds the different supremacy games that are going to be eventually realized together. Like Supremacy World is primarily social spaces. A lot of this came about from like some of the players that we have listening might have tried out the like 3D walkable hangar that we have for Battle Arena, and I I recall a moment in the office where was Matt and a couple of the devs came over to me and were like, Morgan, we want to figure out a way to like expand the walkable hangar to add like, social space stuff for like players to, have like their own, customizable spaces in it. How should we do this? And I was like, well, that's a question. And I think that's kind of like where it all started out for me, which was it it began as how can we, give players these customizable, personalizable spaces in this, existing, 3D space that we've put together for players, and that, kind of further developed into a big project that we're going to be talking about during this AMA as well, and then that project has kind of morphed into launching a preliminary alpha smaller scale version of Supremacy World than might have otherwise happened if we'd waited longer or such like, which is the idea of players being able to have these customizable apartments, these actual like living spaces where they are able to live. Well, functionally their character lives essentially, but it's like it's a social space that you're able to invite your friends, other members of your syndicate to come and hang out in. And you're also going to be able to set up stuff in there that will allow you to interact with the other different games through more convenient or like just locations that are like actually there. I don't know how many people have played like a lot of current MMORPGs, but basically think of like a housing system in any of those, and that's where a lot of the inspiration for this comes from. Was just like let's give players their own little apartments, their own housing locations, and then what can we allow them to do with those that are that tie into the gameplay of the battle arena and then into the gameplay of other games that we're going to be putting together as well. But the biggest focus of Supremacy World is always about these social spaces and social interactions and the use of social spaces and social interactions for all manner of things. Like again, think of any kind of MMO setting, MMO games like their major city trade hubs, etc., and then think about the sort of stuff that people use those to facilitate for, and that's kind of what we're looking at here. So yeah, you'll be able to like access the hangar from your apartment probably, or at least be able to get to it relatively easily. You'll be able to go out into public open spaces and just interact with players and talk to NPCs and just go get stuff done. And that's like the kind of the early version of that is going to be some relatively constrained spaces, because obviously we want all this stuff to be really polished, and so we can't just, if we're going to be launching it iteratively, then we've got to do it in stages. But after that, we'll be expanding out into much larger spaces, a lot more interconnectivity and things like that. But yeah, it's like the the social glue that ties together the other games, and for now that's mostly about the battle arena, but it is also going to involve the new resource system that we've been putting together for this pre-release as well.
And
Right.
one of the sorry, Raj, we'll get to the next question. It's just I want to kind of jump on and add my bit. One of the the social side definitely got a lot of interest with a lot of people on the team, as Morgan talked about. But where Supremacy World has always been exciting for me is the logistics side of it, and I in game design or even just software development, software design, if I say, let's go real world and talk about like an ERP. So I jump on my company's logistical software and I say send 10 units of this to our headquarters on the other side of the world, and that starts the system, the process, and eventually my coworkers on the other side of the world say we got them, and then they do their bit, and the software facilitates that. In game design, generally, you go, I want to move my units from this place to that place over there, and it kind of just happens. The system works out. It'll take 1 hour, and eventually they appear. For me, what's exciting about Supremacy World is I say I want to send my 10 mechs from my hangar facility here in the city, and I want to send it out to my mining facility out in the outer lands, and I want to send it by rail, by the mech rail transport lines. Now, a player positioned in the actual train, these transport hubs, will actually see my mechs on the actual mech train as it runs through there, headed towards my land, and that kind of logistics and representation in a physical way, that excites me. I know it's probably not that consequential, but I think that kind of immersiveness and knowing when when you're in a giant human and mech train station and you look up and you see 6 mechs fly past, and using your in-game UI, you can see whose mechs they are, what the mech names are, etc., etc. Like, I think that kind of immersiveness is really, really important and different. I've never seen anything like this before, so I'm excited for that. And the train environment is being worked on pretty aggressively at the moment, and we'll definitely be able to leak some kind of screens of that. But that's the kind of thing that excites me. Just a physical world where the logistics of the war are seen and felt. Anyway, I'll let you move on to the next question, Raj.
Thank you. Yeah, so just coming back to what you were saying earlier there, Morgan, in terms of resources, what can we do with these resources, and how are we going to be able to manage them?
Okay, all right. So there are, how would I put this? There's probably like 3 phases to the resource related kind of end goal here. So we have what we're calling like what I'm calling basic, but basic land gameplay. It's just like what my, stupid design, lead design docs read for it at the moment. And it's the one that we're going to be rolling out with this sale next week. Then there's going to be like a second phase where that'll get expanded out a good deal once we have some more of Supremacy World rolling, and once we've got the, how would I put this? Once we've got like the desktop client and like mobile companion app and stuff like that, like actually fully up and running and integrated and everything, we'll have the actual UX for players to be able to expand out that system in a way that is like actually worthwhile. And then after that, there's going to be the whole, I keep referring to it as like the grand strategy kind of side of things, which is, the really big stuff, like, playing a game of Crusader Kings or Stellaris or, some huge big tabletop, board game thing, but it's in the Supremacy World and runs in real time and over really long periods of time where stuff is happening, and you'll have, actual territorial combats and control and all that jazz. So that's kind of like the three phases. So I just sort of wanted to outline that to give people like an idea of expectations. So this initial form of it is quite straightforward. It's designed to be very approachable and almost kind of, how do I put it? It's not quite like proof of concept because I already know that this will work, but
It's ambitious. It's ambitious.
Yeah.
That's basically why we always couch things with this is not a promise and this is not a commitment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's ambitious.
So this first version, you will, along with the basically the land plots that people will be, obtaining during the sale that we're doing next week, your plot will come with access to 3 different materials out of a total possible of 5. Each of the factions, their own territory has 2 possible primary resources and 2 possible secondary resources. And then they'll always have access to the 5th one. Every land plot will always have access to the 5th one. And something that I do also want to be clear about to do with these land plots is that these are like kind of smaller scale ones, and they're being run by like you, the player, as almost like an individual kind of thing. So rather than like enormous, expansive, complicated, uh, territory control with lots and lots and lots of interlocking systems. A lot of this is about, it's almost, it's sort of you and a bunch of automated robots going out and just making, gathering smaller scale amounts of things that are there as like a logistical support for your activities in the battle arena. So it's less about, getting into large scale economy and more about kind of, like lower level, smaller scale, um, logistical support for, yourself and also other people in the battle arena. So that's why we're only, sticking with this smaller number of resources to start with. And it's why, like, the plots are kind of, in a way they're like geographically small, and also where they're located is, a lot closer to the 3 faction capitals. They're in the like secure space where a lot of the really big, deposits or mining areas are already, being occupied by the main factions themselves.
I just want to jump in really quickly.
Yeah, go for it.
Before you move past this point. We've got a funny story there that Matt was there for too. So everyone's familiar with John, also co-founder of Ninja Syndicate. So John was putting together the original seed data for these land plots for the pre-sale, and if you've done any kind of deep dive on John, you'd know that he actually comes from the real resource extraction industry. So he's worked on mine sites here in Australia and in Africa. So he was thinking, real mine site plot sizes, and I think they were at that point. He put they were going to start at 100 kilometers, radius of 100 kilometers. So they were going to be massive compared to the sizes they were changed to, because that's, at least here in Western Australia, minefields are gigantic. So yeah, funny story. Sorry, Morgan. Back to you.
Yeah, no worries. It was actually pretty funny talking with John about, how I did want to do some of this like early implementation, and it was very much like I will talk to you a whole bunch when we're doing like phase 2 and 3, John, because that'll be really good information to have then. But yeah, for the time being, it's all like the sort of the thing that I kept bringing up for like everyone in the office. But I don't know how well this will translate overseas because not every country has had the same phenomena. But in sort of like I don't know, like the late 1800s, early 1900s, to a degree in Australia, there was like a big gold rush, and there were lots of individuals would go out to the the places where all the gold was being found, and they would buy like this small plot of it could be as small as something like 100 meters squared or kilometer squared or something like that of land, and they would just get to look for gold in it and keep whatever they found. And that's kind of a bit like this, just on a slightly larger scale. And you also, know there's stuff there to begin with because you can go scanning for it and all that jazz. But anyway, I digress. So to further answer Raj's original question, which is what do we do with all of this stuff? Okay, so I believe Kyle linked in the chat there the 4 like major resources. So there's magnesium, titanium, uranium, and silicon. Those are the sort of 4 major resources. There's also carbon, which is the one that's present on every plot. So each of your factions is going to have 2 primary resources out of the first 3. So magnesium, titanium, and uranium. Each plot will have randomly determined one of those. Then they will have the primary resource that isn't in your faction. You'll also have a deposit of either that or silicon. So 2 deposits, and then also being able to get carbon. The sort of in universe where you're actually getting carbon is via extraction from carbon dioxide in the air. And I had a lot of fun doing some research on all of this stuff earlier this week, which was great. And the idea behind like having the carbon there is that like carbon is going to be a really big functional part of all of the crafting. And so I wanted to make sure it was like available to all players. Even after even after the deposits on your land of your 2 main resources have been depleted, you'll always be able to continue to gather carbon. So, how do you get this stuff? Extra harvesters. You're gonna have a certain number of maximum harvesters that you can have active on any given plot. It's always the same for every one of these plots. You'll start with a certain number of free harvesters. You can get more via various means, and you can set your harvesters onto one of your resources. You can have up to the maximum number going at once on any combination that you like. They will gather stuff at a certain rate. That'll go into the silo, like the sort of mobile silos that you have on your land plot, and you can then go and you will actually have to like go and manually get the stuff out of those silos, and that'll get transferred over to the battle arena, and it'll be over in the battle arena menu, and systems will be where you then use these resources from there. The silos do have a max cap, so if you're not able to get on and empty them, they will cap out, and your harvesters will just stop and be really sad about it. So the resources, once you've got them, then what do you do with them? So they're over on your battle arena thing. You go to the battle arena, you're going to go to your sort of fabrication menu. Later on, we're going to want this, fabrication stuff to be able to be done in the 3D, social spaces as well. And to begin with, there are going to be 2 main things that you can use your resources for. So firstly, I'm introducing a new consumable item to the battle arena, which are currently called nano repair kits, and they allow you to instantly repair a mech. These get crafted via a combination of the materials and also playing through some of the repair game that we have. Not the current one. I imagine by the time this is implemented, we'll actually be able to use the new upcoming repair game that we've been working on. That's been teased a little bit here and there. I was actually talking to the devs that have been working on that just the other day, and I can see some really fun ways to have the crafting of these nano repair kits there. So the nano repair kits, you can either keep them and use them yourself, or you can sell them on the marketplace. Obviously, yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. You can just use them and they immediately, or at least very quickly, within a matter of seconds or whatever, they'll go and repair your mech. And then you can send it back into the battle arena right away. And obviously, having this kind of ability gives you a lot more flexibility because you don't have to wait at all. You don't have to, there's no time constraint here. But that means they're probably going to be more expensive, especially considering they're also using these new resources. Now, the second thing that you can use them for, to really elaborate on them will require more time because it will require me to go into a bunch of the new battle arena changes that are coming up. So I'll tell you what they are now, and then I'll go into the new battle arena stuff later in the AMA because I know people have lots of questions about Supremacy World first. But when we get along to that, I'll talk a little bit about some of the new upcoming battle arena changes too. So the other thing that you can craft of these are these new items that I'm currently referring to as consumables, and they are used in the battle arena by spectators on battles, and they're effectively like little supply drops of various useful items. We're going to be moving some of the existing abilities over to these as well. So like the shield overload, whatever it's called, the one that recharges your shields really quickly. That repair, like ammo crates. I'm planning to move the overcharge ability over to having a specific number of uses, and you have to refill them by getting these crates as well, and a bunch of other stuff. And basically, spectators will be able to drop these into the battle arena to help out their friends or their team, or or even just to spice things up by putting them in a really contested central area, and whoever gets to them, and they give additional charges of abilities or special abilities to the mechs that go and pick them up. And these particular things won't be tradable, but you will have to get the resources in order to craft them. They'll require different resources depending on what it is. But your resources will also all be tradable, or sellable on the marketplace. You'll be able to just put them up in bulk, and players will be able to buy them off you as well. And we will also have a way for players who don't have land to buy directly from their faction, essentially. But obviously that's going to come at a much higher cost than buying it from players. So we just want to make sure that everyone has access to these resources all the time, no matter what's going on with players in the marketplace. But obviously, you're always going to be able to find a better deal when you're actually interacting with other players rather than just buying it from the factions themselves. I think I've covered everything to do with the new resources thing. There's lots of
definitely not everything, but certainly more than enough for people to get a really good idea.
For now. I'm sure some more stuff will come up as we answer questions. But yeah, I'll pass this back to Alex and Raj.
Go, Raj, go.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that, Morgan. And remember, guys, if you want to come up on the stage and ask a question, then just raise your hand and I'll let you in. We like to hear from you guys as well. But yeah, so we'll get into another question here. So how will Supremacy World enrich my playing experience as a busy guy and more of a passive player who does not have a lot of time to spend in front of my computer?
I don't think Supremacy World is for this player, and I totally um I totally empathize with this person who asked this question. It's pretty much me. I don't have time to actually play Supremacy World. I'm just blessed that I can be part of its development. And it would totally have been the game I would play, before running Ninja Syndicate and before having two children. Yeah, in all seriousness, Supremacy World is it as already been hinted, it's a lot closer to an MMO, which means it's a lot more time consuming and definitely aimed at more the kind of person who likes to hang out in Fortnite lobbies rather than play Fortnite. It's yeah. In all seriousness, it's not really for that kind of person. They can definitely like pop in and spend 10 minutes in a social area and chat to players and check out new sites. There'll always be new interesting things to look at in the world of Supremacy. And I mean that directly. You go see a new building that's popped up, or a new environment biome that's been released. So there's kind of like sightseeing, like you're a tourist. So there's elements that players will enjoy, but the players that will get the most out of it are definitely those that can dedicate a few hours a day. And like I said, that would never be me. The gameplay for these kind of players is definitely going to be the battle arena, especially when first person comes out, and taking on contract missions in within the first person world, taking on mech piloting missions and helping your other faction members during raids and things like that. Like these kinds of things, battles will be generally pretty quick. So that's the kind of gameplay that I feel would appeal to that kind of player. Also, the grand strategy that's coming, like a lot of that will be very logistical and planning in nature, and you could spend lots of time on it, or you could spend small amounts of time on it. But yeah, in all honesty, Supremacy World will it'll require a bit of time commitment to get the most out of it.
See, it's interesting you say that because to some degree I can actually see a lot of maybe not a lot, but I can definitely see some potential for players who do have a lot less time to still be able to get things out of Supremacy World they want to.
Oh,
But I guess I'm
definitely.
also the sort of person who would like never really want to warn anyone off a particular game like this because so much of it is about making your own fun and finding your own source of fun. But
That is very true, and I did try
yeah,
to hint that, but like the depth of Supremacy World will require time commitment, but enjoying the world and moving between like the social areas and talking to players, like there's a ton of stuff you can definitely enjoy in just 15 minutes for sure. Yeah, so
yeah, absolutely.
thank you for the correction. You're absolutely right. There will be enough to appeal to both kinds of players.
Yeah, I mean, like just like owning, like having your own, apartment that you can over time customize to look however you like, and then, just kind of make a fun, aesthetic, or like uh, making a project out of it. It's sort of like, people love. There are some people out there who love building things with their hands in real life that are like, just small things. I am a like a miniature war game collector. Yeah, at times, I have stuff from one game now, but I used to play Warhammer 40k back in the day, and I just loved putting my little dudes together and painting them. And some people really love that, and the same kind of itch can get scratched by putting together a really impressive, immersive, realistic looking, sort of living space in a game. I play Final Fantasy 14, which everyone in the office is like basically never allowed to forget because I reference it a lot. But it has a housing system that is, has inspired a lot of my thinking on this. And some of the like like the way that, you know, someone who's never interacted with the housing system in Final Fantasy 14 now put together a house and a little, you know, look a little cozy and a little weird and janky, but then you see the ones that some of these people who really know what they're doing have put together, and they are mind-blowing. And some of those people, that's all they do. They don't do any of the other like stuff in the game. They just love putting together housing, and they'll like do it for other people. We want that to be a thing as well. Like we want to have, you know, like interior decorator being a thing that you could sell yourself as in Supremacy World, because, you know, it's just kind of emergent player uh, interaction, really. So I think I would just really want to say to the person who asked this question, I guess really the question would be, like my question response to them would be, what is it that you want to get out of a game like this? And if it is within the, you know, sphere of possibility of what you can do in Supremacy World, then yeah, you can definitely get that out of it. I don't know how quickly you'll be able to do it, because that's such a difficult question to answer. But yeah, there will be something possible for everyone to do, no matter their like time commitment. But the more that you want to get into the depths of possibility in the game, the more you want to experience everything that it has to offer, obviously the more time you're going to have to put into it. That's kind of the same for most games that are, you know, really immersive, you know, sim style games.
Yeah, thanks, Morgan. You said it a lot better than I did. And just to kind of extend on that, you know, it also, like Morgan said, it really depends on what you want to get out of it and how you see yourself playing. So, you know, for instance, the apartments, while, you know, you can own, you know, one yourself and it's your special place, you could also potentially own a whole building's worth and rent them out. And you know, you could be a everyone's favorite landlord, or you could be a slumlord who ends up having hits taken out on them by their disgruntled tenants. And you know, for that 10 minutes, a week that you show up, you're constantly looking over your shoulder, scared that, you know, someone's gonna get you for not patching the hole in their laundry. Yeah, so there's a lot of ways to actually interact with the world, and that actually don't require you to be there. And the companion app that Morgan hinted at before will go a long way to actually, you know, providing immersive gameplay to players who technically can't be online and in world. So yeah, I stand by the what I tried to say, which is to get the most out of Supremacy World will obviously, you know, it requires some time commitment. That there'll be a lot of depth and a lot of immersion, but everyone will be able to get something. And Morgan was absolutely correct in in correcting me. So thanks, Morgan.
All right, Alexis.
Thanks,
That's what you
Morgan.
hired me for.
All right.
True.
Cool. All right. Welcome, Sirius. How are you?
Oh, hey guys, how you going?
Yeah, really good.
Hey,
Thank
mate.
you. How are you?
Funnily that you guys kind of ended up actually answering the question eventually that I was going to ask anyway. But so I'll just kind of start off with like there's a group of players that I play with where you know, I really love the BA and I'm really keen for like the first person stuff, because that's like, you know, I do like to play those sort of games, and there's a lot more, I guess, skill involved on a personal level when you're in FPS, which has got, you know, its highs and lows also. But there's definitely, and I have another side that I really, really like, the economical side, and there's a group of us that have really been waiting out, I guess, for that side of it, being able to do mining and logistics and you know, have a factory or have a mech building factory, that sort of thing. There's definitely a group that I work with that's, you know, really, really keen on that side of things. So real pumped to see the start of that. The actual question that I kind of was going to ask that was nearly answered was just in terms of I kind of go up and down with how much time's I got. So there's times I'll hit the BA in a week and I'll play it for a lot of hours and really have fun with it. And then there's other times where I get so busy that I can jump on for, maybe one match every day or two kind of thing. So I kind of flip between the two. And my question was kind of around the resources side, because I would like to be able to know that the weeks that I can't play, I'm still doing something or I'm still building instead of kind of, getting left behind or or sort of going stale. So I was wondering, like, the resource factor, theoretically, and especially how you hinted at, like, the mobile app or something, the companion app, is there a way that, if you do get busy for a period, you could just be jumping in, and whether it's once a day or 4 times a day, but only for a couple of minutes, and just kind of go and collect my resources and just gathering, so you're still kind of doing something that's positive, even though you don't have the time?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And the companion app would assist a lot with that.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why you did hint at the companion app there as well. Partly because, like, there's always the question of, oh well, where am I going to go to do this? Is it just going to be another web app thing? Is it only going to be on the desktop app? And it's like, no, we want to have the mobile interface as well, because this is like the sort of smaller scale, I guess, activity that players might do, during a public transport commute, or while they're at lunch briefly, or before you go to bed, whatever. Yeah, this is like there's a few different mobile games that I play, and yeah, sometimes all I really need to do for them is just like hop on and check a few things and adjust a few things, and wham bam damn, done in 5-10 minutes. And that convenience is really nice for those. And I've always really liked it when there's been games that have the mobile companion app that allow you to interact with stuff that's in the game with your phone on some level, so that you can just kind of keep all of the passive real-time stuff rolling even if you're not actually there.
Also, the concept of outsourcing, like repairs in the battle arena, is not going away. And we'll still play a massive part of the supremacy economy. So whether members of your syndicate are helping you with your operations, or you're actually essentially employing people within the world to help you out with their operations, there'll be a lot of that too. So there'll be a lot of opportunities for automation, outsourcing, and a lot of ways to interface with these systems that we will definitely make sure that it's easy. It's not too much of a burden.
Yeah, awesome. Probably, sorry, one more question actually, and it's kind of obvious there would be, but at this point in time, is there going to be like I guess a cap on resources that you actually can harvest, like in terms of thinking of it in a physical kind of space in the metaverse? Do you have a certain amount of storage space? Is that relevant to your apartment, or is that something that's kind of a little bit further down the track?
For the time being, I hadn't really intended there to be so that there's a cap on how much you can have at the silos at your like actual land plots. Like you need to go and empty those, like get all that transported back to the main city, to all of your own facilities. But at least to begin with, I didn't have any intention of like having some kind of cap for those resources, but I may also need to for technical reasons, in which case there will be. Let's file that under to be decided, but I'll definitely clarify that, and it will definitely not be so small that going away on leave for 2 weeks and not being able to do anything with them will mean you'll start wasting resources or anything like that. Like I'll crunch a lot of numbers and make sure that it's not going to be anything too frustrating to deal with for players who might lead busy lives.
Yeah, cool. And I imagine, like, team-wise, if you're gonna like a player syndicate or something, you can maybe assign someone to kind of cover yours if you're away. Is that something that might be on the cards?
It'll be within like the syndicate system. So the big plan for the syndicate system is that you'll be able to, you know, how would I put this? So like you're in a syndicate. Your syndicate has its own storage and its own, bank account, I guess, or whatever. And you can just deposit stuff into there. And, people with the right permissions can withdraw certain amounts or like, use certain amounts for particular things. So you could, while you're going to be away, you could just set it up so that when you enter your silos, they go to your syndicate thing. And then, your friends and comrades in your syndicate are then able to access those resources and use them to make things. And I'd love to be able to have automated systems so that say if you put a bunch of your resources in and then like the one of the traders in your syndicate sells a bunch of the stuff on the marketplace, you like automatically get a cut of that proportional to the amount of your resources that were in it, so on and so forth, that sort of thing. But yeah, like it's sort of like when I talk about social interactions, it's not purely like like what we're doing right now, just like talking and hanging out and leisure time, but like social interaction is also about cooperation and making agreements and deals and trades and all that kind of stuff. Like that's the sort of thing that happens in these kinds of MMO type games as well. Like a lot of what happens in social spaces is networking and getting to know people who you'll be able to help or will be able to help you as well in the future. And so, we definitely do want to have a big focus on player cooperation and player contribution to a like a big group of kind of I guess to get a little philosophical for a moment, but like a big kind of decentralized organization that's just run by a whole bunch of different people who have similar interests and similar philosophies and just want to work towards something together in a very even kind of sense.
You just made a lot of people very excited.
Yeah, we're super pumped, and I got a million questions. And we're pretty pumped about this, but I'll kind of leave it there. But just the fact that this is kind of the whole thing's been moving so quickly, and this seems to, for us, feel like it's come even a little bit earlier than expected. Is really exciting. So yeah, thanks guys.
Thanks, Soup Series. Yeah, guys, if you've got questions, raise your hand and I'll let you in. Otherwise, we'll just keep answering the questions that you've written down in the AMA chat. Cool. So, Alex, next question that we're getting, or we've got a few of these questions that have popped up. People are asking, what can we do with our mechs in Supremacy World?
So, yes, the mechs are obviously in your hangar. People like Morgan has talked about. We've got the really light walkable hangar. You'll obviously have either your own personal hangar or you'll have your mechs in a hangar facility, and you'll obviously be able to go and have a look at them. There'll also be mech shooting ranges and other kind of mech related activities, like actual spaces where mechs are used, not necessarily in a violent way like the battle arena. There's also, and this is I think something I haven't linked already. So the transport between the world, like the cities and locations, is generally done by either by train or by drop ships, airships. And the other way you can travel between cities is actually by piloting your mech and taking the very dangerous mech highways through the outer lands. So that'll be another way you can actually interface directly with your mech. There'll obviously be a lot more. Supremacy is very much centered on mech warfare. So there'll be a lot more you can do. There'll be mech showrooms that you'll be able to buy mechs. There'll be an actual we've got the mech marketplace right now, which is essentially a grid, and you join in the auction. There'll be actual mech marketplaces where you can go and bid kind of in person, if you will, and look at the mechs up close, which will be a lot of fun. So yeah, mechs obviously feature very heavily in Supremacy World. You won't just be able to jump in your mech and rampage down the street, unfortunately. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of ways you'd be able to interface with your mechs.
Yeah, early on, it will be like a lot more limited to just being able to like view them and test them out, and then like Alex was saying, using them for transport, or maybe like exploration. A lot of it will sort of depend on when different parts of Supremacy World are like rolled out, I guess. So yeah, like if we just refer to Supremacy World as like the actual open explorable spaces, then to begin with, a lot of it will just be like showing it off or using it for travel or selling them, things like that. And where they'll continue to be applied in a combat sense will be like the battle arena, and then later in the grand strategy game sort of aspect of it, which will be connected to Supremacy World. And then later, as things get even more sophisticated and interconnected, you'll have the ability to be able to use them in the spaces that are being represented by more abstract games much more directly. But yeah, it's all about like the phase kind of rollout. We want to make sure that we are whenever we roll out a new segment of the game or a new actual game attached to the Supremacy setting, we want to make sure that it's all really good and polished and has a solid purpose, and the way that it interacts with the with Supremacy World and the other games that are is sensible and useful and interesting. So there's a lot of potential. When those different potentials will get fulfilled is a very difficult question to answer.
Yeah, I guess just watch my Twitter over the next few weeks, and I'll just keep releasing teaser content and more concept. So you'll get a much better idea. Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of contested spaces is really interesting as well. So obviously we have Red Mountain based around the Australian continent, Zaibatsu, former Japan, Boston, Northeast USA, but there's other parts of the world as well. And this is probably going into grand strategy territory, but having mechs fight for actual land in contested spaces beyond the territories or the spheres of influence, I'm pretty pumped about that. So as a mech owner myself, I'd love to go out there and into far-flung places and see how things go. Not so much in it's a different experience, I guess, to the battle arena. So the battle arena is really your NFL. It's a kind of a staged event almost for the world. But when the grand strategy really heats up and you're able to load out your weapons and go and fight for land, I think that's a logical progression that I'm keen to see.
Yeah, and that is, of course, absolutely something that is eventually on the plan.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I guess we'll go to the next question, Rich.
Thanks, guys. And yeah, just if you haven't already, go onto Alex's Twitter, and you'll see a bunch of really cool things that he's sort of leaked as well.
I mean, you should definitely follow me anyway. Like, my shower thoughts are, pretty entertaining.
Exactly. Turn your notifications on, guys.
Yeah, definitely go follow Alex if you just want to hear about more stuff about Supremacy. Don't go follow me if you want to hear about Supremacy, because I mostly talk about other random crap.
All right, cool. So another question that's popping up a fair bit as well is how much are we looking at the founder packs costing, and what payment options are going to be available?
So I'm not going to. Let me think. So I don't want to absolutely confirm the price right now. We're still kind of workshopping it. I will say though, it will not be more than 0.1 ETH. So that's a commitment. Even though I I wish it was bull time and we could sell them for 5 ETH. But yeah, for the community, we're gonna lock them to no more than 0.1 ETH. And we will have 2,500, I believe, and that'll be it. There'll be no more founders packs after that. The signet rings that come with them, they'll never be recreated again. Anything we don't sell in this sale will essentially be burned. Not the land, obviously, because it exists, and the apartments will be. So there'll be no more founders apartments. Basically, everything that's in these founders packs are, they are for our community. They're for what we consider the Supremacy World founders.
Great, thanks for that, Alex. And you just sort of mentioned the signet ring there. Another question for that is, what value does this signet ring hold, and would there be an advantage to having more than one ring?
So no, there wouldn't be an advantage, and we won't be like, so the enticement is 10 founders packs and you get a signet ring. If you get 20, you don't get 2 signet rings. But if you do, I believe it's 25. The material of the ring gets better, which will release more information pretty soon. So there's a website coming for the pre-sale, and that will have locked-in information. So I see Cryptid's giving me some shtick for not giving an actual price, and not locking in, and that's fair. So I will say right now the price for the Founders Pack is 0.09 ETH, and then currently locked to that. Now, I won't 100% say that that'll be the price on sale day, but I can guarantee it will not go over 0.1 ETH.
Right, thanks for that, Alex. And we're looking at sort of the key cards as well. So how will they fit into Supremacy World?
So we will have, key cards are massive, and we're always going to do stuff around the key cards. The big thing that's coming for the key cards is actually the upgrade from Genesis 1 to Genesis 2, which we will release more information on after the pre-sale, and that'll be quite interesting, I think, for everyone. Key cards will play a part in Supremacy World in that there'll be areas you can't access without these key cards. They'll essentially be limited to people who hold key cards. And there's a ton of other stuff we plan to do around them as well. Like the key cards, from a lore perspective, make a lot of sense. And Matt's already got some great ideas on how we can explore how the key cards exist in the actual world itself.
Yeah, I've been talking and thinking about a lot of uses for keycards too. Basically, there's in my mind, there's like two ways that people will be able to use keycards from like, gameplay related stuff. One is actually burning them, so they are gone forever, and you can exchange them for something. So I don't know. I don't take this as like an actual confirmation that this will be a thing, but for example, you could burn, a key card to get a number of harvesters for your land. Here, just get like a bunch of them rather than having to obtain them via other means. And there'll be other uses for them in the future as well, in that kind of way, where they are gone forever. You use them and they're done. The other way to use the keycards is that you effectively you use them and you lock the use of that keycard for that thing to your account. So you say we roll out a new feature in the battle arena that has a bunch of new items or equipment or things like that. You could use a keycard to open a crate that comes with one of those items. And once that keycard has been used to open that crate on your account, it cannot be used for opening another one of those crates anywhere else. But you can still, trade it or use it for other things, that kind of stuff. It's just that it effectively gets a little punch, little hole punch put into it in the little this crate slot. So those are the two main ways that I have in mind for being able to use the key cards. Yeah, you can. They'll either get burned for reasonably significant uses, or they'll get a one use of a particular new thing, and then you can reuse them for other stuff in the future too.
I want to go back to the price as well, because there's a lot of chatter. So there's a couple things I should address. So for this sale we are taking Ethereum and USD. Unfortunately, we won't be taking subs. There's a couple reasons for that. Number one is that this is right in the middle of our migration to Ethereum, which makes it difficult. And the second one is these funds from this sale absolutely go to the development of Supremacy World, and taking subs and then dumping them on the market is not that's not a good strategy for us. So unfortunately, in this sale, we won't be taking subs. That obviously won't be the case for things we sell inside the battle arena, like skins and mechs and everything like that, which is coming in the Nexus release. But for this sale, we are sticking to USD and Ethereum.
Yeah, and also to kind of add on to that, you'll be able to use subs to get stuff or that interact with the resource system as well. You'll be able to spend subs to buy. Let me think. So you'll be able to sell resources to players, other players for subs, and you'll be able to use subs to buy more harvesters for your land as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another thing I want to make clear. So I see Fox Saber says upgradable rings, wallet emptying tactics. Yeah, fair enough. I do want to kind of specify though that the faction signet rings will be, so you will obviously receive an NFT for it, and your character in Supremacy World will have the founder's ring, which will have ramifications for that character in the game, and there'll be mechanics around that. But we are also setting up a system where players can actually claim a real physical ring. So after the sale, you'll be able to go to essentially a web page on Supremacy World and claim your ring, which will mark your NFT as claimed. So you can only do it once, and you'll get a real ring. So that upgrade is the materials we choose, which I think right now. So this is not a commitment, because we're still kind of working out exactly what materials we want to use, and maybe some suggestions from the community would help us on this. But right now it starts at bronze, then it's silver, then it's gold, then it's titanium, which fairly fairly derivative, if I would say so myself. But the essence is clear. The higher spend you do, the better ring you get.
Just to make it clear as well, sorry, the idea that you are getting the apartment, the inner city apartment, which has a chance of a medium as well. So you're getting your sort of urban inner city apartment, which is like a single sort of quarters in a sense, with a chance of other types as well. But you're also getting the plot of land in that. So that 0.9 ETH or thereabouts to get the apartment with your unique address as well as the plot of land is a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and great. So just sort of like on the apartment side of things as well. I guess will we have a choice of location for our apartment? So will we be able to claim apartments in other factions essentially?
Sorry, Raj, I missed the last part of that question.
That's all good. So in terms of the apartments, will we have a choice of location for our apartments, and will we be able to purchase them in other factions as well? So if I'm Boston, am I able to purchase an apartment in Red Mountain?
So the founders' apartments are like the buildings have already been set, but there are a few buildings. So it will work. Like it's a classic mint. So you'll click mint and you'll be given your apartment, and you can't kind of select where you want it to be, but if you get more than one, you'll get a range in different buildings, and obviously you purchase. So the way the purchase form will work is you select your faction and then you purchase your founders pack. You can also do that again and select a different faction. You can't do it at the same time, but we're not locking down purchases to we're not making people log in and confirm their faction before they can purchase or anything. You'll just have to do it one at a time.
Yeah, I will be clear though that at least like in the earlier stages of Supremacy World, when you interact with your apartment or your land, you will need to be using a battle arena account that is from the same faction. Like we're not yet doing like major cross faction stuff. Not yet. So if you're only wanting to buy, a certain number and you want to make sure you're going to get the most out of it, stick with the, faction that you play. If you want to have a bunch for the future, then go ahead and buy from whatever faction you like. But I do want to be clear that like in the earlier stages of all of this, it is going to be more faction specific to begin with. So, just so people are aware, but there will be time, in the future where, cross faction stuff is a lot more of a thing, and then you'll be able to, make use of them from, no matter what account or character you're playing as.
Yeah, I think the long term and this might be I don't know. That's kind of, I guess, more up to Morgan, but the long term plan is single account, many characters, and that's not doable right now in the battle arena because there's not a lot of progression, and abandoning a character and jumping into a different one there's absolutely no disincentive to that at all. So it doesn't make sense for the battle arena. But for Supremacy World, it absolutely makes sense because you will put in time and effort in building up your character profile and your your stats and your history. And so multi-character in that context makes a lot of sense. So the world will be more open up for for that kind of player.
Yeah, that's actually absolutely my intent. I am planning to move us towards a one account per person, multiple characters per account kind of system, and those characters can be whatever faction you like, and they'll still only be able to connect to each other in some way, within like regular restrictions within the game. But that'll be particularly important for when we do get like the actual desktop client, as then you just have the one login and you just log in and then you choose which character you want to be playing as and you choose that character and you go. That'll be the case for the battle arena as well. I've mentioned that there'll be a dev blog from me on, I think, either Monday or Tuesday that's going to be outlining a bunch of the new upcoming features for the battle arena, both with Nexus and also either like after Nexus. That also does include character progression systems that I've been working on putting together for quite a while now. They've required a lot of work to figure out and put together. But yeah, those will be coming in, in the short term, I would say.
Great, thank you guys. And I think this is sort of a question more based for Matt here. Will we be continuing on the story paths that are set out in the original Whitelist game?
Oh hell yeah, Matt. I know you've got a long answer for this one.
Well, it's probably a written answer as well, to be honest. And it's amazing. It's fun. It's deep. So how do we start? Well, we have the wiki on supremacy.game, the lore wiki, and I encourage people to get onto that and to read that. That is a direct extension from the text game. So on the front page of supremacy.game, you can see run simulation, and that will play you through the story as it first emerges in 2149, and you can see characters, you can see the environment, like Morgan mentioned before. We're really trying to create an atmosphere for the game that is sort of makes sense for the 22nd century. And in many cases, I mean, in many ways, this is what very well could be what we're sort of moving towards with the rapid emergence of AI. So it's a world which I think is feasible in a sense. You can get an atmosphere, get an idea for that atmosphere by playing the game. There's voice narration and a little bit of background music as well, put you in the mood. And there's some basic maps there. You sort of step through and try and survive those games. You can then go to the lore wiki and have a look at that. But with the Supremacy World, we really want to open up the side stories as well. And within our team, we have a few people who are writing some short stories. I've got a bunch of unpublished stuff at the moment, just sort of tinkering with. I wrote quite a bit during my COVID lockdown, which was pretty fun, but might need some editing. So we have a lot of those side stories, but it's complemented by the art as well. I'm just blown away by what our concept artists are doing. We got concept artists in across Europe, across the States, most continents actually. We've had concept art come from, and to be able to work with those artists and get ideas that trigger lore ideas and world ideas, and then when we develop, we can add it into the game with our amazing team of 3D artists here, mainly based in Perth. It just really builds this rich and unique experience. In terms of the lore itself, well, I'm really interested in the cities, and particularly the Sector 1, or the central sort of sectors or districts of each city. So in Boston Cybernetics, for example, we have the city of Boston Prime, and the area where these apartments are being sold next week, that's in Arcadia Rise. So when you buy an apartment, you'll have your own unique address in an Arcadia Rise building. If you buy an apartment in Red Mountain, you'll be buying it in Sector 1 of Ironcore, which is pretty amazing that you'll be able to get right into the heart of the city, and you'll be buying into Corbin Flats. So that's the name of the apartment tower. And then if you buy in Zaibatsu, you'll be buying into the city of Neo Tokyo, into Precinct 1 of Neo Tokyo, and it will be Danchi Neon will be the towers that you'll be buying into. So these are central locations, but they're also exciting locations. So for example, in Arcadia Rise in Boston Cybernetics, there's nightclubs, there's bars, there's happening streets. It's a busy area. There's the atmosphere of potential danger on the streets. So you have to have your wits about you. So you can walk down the streets, you can see some shops. We've actually got a brand that we're looking at the moment called Impossible Fashion. So look out for the signposts of that. You'll navigate your way through that world, and you might stumble across a nightclub. And probably don't want to go too far into what happens in that club or what we have planned, but that's one of the social spaces which is just is super exciting with sort of music. We can have live performers in there. We can really lean into our aesthetic and have people experience that space. And some of the 3D artists, what they've created, some of the enhancements and various brands that they're putting into there. There's food brands, there's all sorts of quirky little areas and vending machines that you can acquire certain things which give you little boosts and upgrades and abilities, which will play into maybe some of the PvP games that we're intending to do in this world. In terms of Red Mountain, yeah, it's we have a big shopping plaza planned for there. We have transport hubs, data grids. There's the manufacturers, of course, so Pyro and UMC, the famous Red Mountain manufacturers. They've got their headquarters in Sector 1, so you'll be able to see those sort of places. And in Zaibatsu, in Danchi Neon, again, is a real sort of edgy part of town, and that's reflected in the apartment, in these apartment sales that we've got. They're pretty cool. I think just looking at them, I know Alex is pretty blown away by the art that's come through and the way we're designing these apartments. They're the sort of space where you're going to have some security. So it'll be a place where your avatar can rest and be secure. But just outside the door, there's all sorts of enticements and potential pitfalls, but some pretty exciting spaces as well, and markets that can open up, and other sort of social spaces. So yeah, that's sort of the day-to-day life. Another interesting thing is that we do have sort of other sort of property that we've been developing as well. Not sure how much we want to sort of talk about that at this stage, but as part of the Founders Packs, it gets you on the streets, it gets you into the inner city, and it puts you into the game. And yeah, it's a pretty fun place to be. The time is interesting as well. So when the game first started, it was 2149. But we're seeing that time does progress, and like Alex's sort of manifesto there, the proof of metaverse, it is about the historical significance of events in the metaverse. I mean, these are real events, real situations, real places that have consequences when things happen. So our story has progressed to the time of 2152, and for the first time, the Overseer is allowing humans to have ownership. So the Overseer is allowing humans to have their apartment and to also have, obviously, the plots of land. And the Overseer wants humanity to rise and to sort of flex a little bit and show the intrinsic human instincts and human drive that humans have. Because if you have a world that's run by AI, sometimes the incentives aren't there. I mean, striving for the next thing, doing the slightly irrational thing, it might not make sense for the AI, but for the Overseer is keen for humanity to stamp its impression into the world and make the world a more dynamic and interesting place, and profitable place as well. Because this is late stage capitalism, and having the irrational human element in there makes a lot of sense.
Appreciate that, Matt. Thank you. So yeah, seems pretty deep, and that's awesome. Thanks, Matt.
There's I just want to add on to this, and like, I think everyone listening is now fully aware that like Matt spends his entire day just fully immersed in the lore of Supremacy, and if you go to Matt's desk, he has huge workbooks full of forking stories, that we will most likely explore. Just the depth is insane, and it's something we're committed to. This sounds a bit pretentious, but it's not just a game. There's a greater story here, and figuring out how to tell that in an emergent way where players essentially write their own storylines is something we're committed to. And to me, the proof of concept for this in gaming is EVE Online, where the stories the players have told, in their corporations and in their dealings with each other, are actually way more interesting than the lore that the game itself presents. And so, this deep, rich world that we're committed to creating is absolutely to set the stage for players to then write stories from. And on this kind of lore note, we're already. I was really inspired by the anime that Cyberpunk made on Netflix, and that was an amazing production, and we're looking to do something similar to that. Probably not on the same scale, obviously, but like putting our lore, or releasing our lore in different forms, different medium forms, like the text adventure game, like things like anime and comic books, which we've done, and other more other more interactive methods is something we'll continue doing, because to me the lore is just as important as the gameplay, and that's something that Matt and Morgan work very closely together on, and it's amazing to see.
Yeah. Can I? Sorry, I keep doing this, Alex. Can I briefly correct you about something?
Go on.
The Cyberpunk Edge Runners anime was made by Studio Trigger, which is an anime studio in Japan.
Oh no, I'm
for
aware of
Netflix.
that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sorry,
Just wanted to be
I
clear
just
for
meant that it
all
was.
the
Yeah. No, I just meant it was on
about it.
Netflix.
Right, yeah. I just meant
Yeah.
to say that like it's. I wanted to mention that so that people know what we were talking about. Yeah, Cyberpunk Edge Runners. It's really good. If you like cyberpunk stuff, you should absolutely watch it. I reckon it's way better than the game, in terms of story stuff. I absolutely loved it. I watched it while I was on leave with one of the friends I visited in the US, and we had a great time. But aside from that, when I first joined Ninja, I actually came on to do both narrative design and game design, and like those are actually like my two kind of disciplines of speciality, and a lot of people aren't super aware of what narrative design actually is. It's like it's not just writing. In fact, often it doesn't involve as much writing, like games writing. It's more about how do the mechanics of a game, the gameplay of a game, the way that you interact with the world and the characters and the actual gameplay itself express the story, the narrative, and the setting. It's very much about uh, it's almost like being a director for a film in a lot of respects, where you're figuring out how it is that you want to convey this narrative experience to the players. And so I have a really big vested interest in us setting up our games in a way that is able to really dig into good, strong narrative design. And that is effectively like, I want to ensure that our game is set up and equipped to tell the stories that Matt is really excited to tell. So, I'm kind of like a facilitator in that respect. So that's always been something that's like been running through my mind whenever I'm working on new designs and features for the battle arena. And the really important thing is ensuring that we have a strong foundation of a game to play, and then from there we're able to use it as this like foundation for telling these stories through over time, and as things progress, we're able to add more gameplay content to the game alongside it. It's a sort of a complicated dance of things, but one that I'm really excited to be able to see come to fruition soon.
Yeah, and that's having your depth of knowledge around game design and the experience of gameplay has been invaluable, and to be able to work together. I mean, Alex is very creative as well. I mean, your ideas are constant and or just about always, top notch. So there's inspiration all over the place, and other members of the team, Hemi and Tyson, and others have just done some amazing work and discussions over the time. But I think the fundamental premise of supremacy is just so interesting. I mean, supremacy, is it territorial supremacy? Is it supremacy of AI? Is it supremacy of humanity? You can read into it different sort of levels. But when we talk about AI and we talk about being controlled by AI for 30 odd years, from 2116 through to sort of 2149, when the first battles sort of really start flaring up, the war breaks out, and as is depicted in the graphic novel, the story of Cain, who's the first one to really stand up to the AI and to say, no, we don't accept what you're telling us to do. We don't accept that the artificial intelligence in this case has made the right decision. And so it kind of stems from this uprising. There's other sort of elements of it in Zaibatsu, which are hinted at in the text game, which are quite interesting. This sort of this spirit of human mutiny almost, which is quickly crushed. in quite a violent way. Boston as well, there's elements of human decision making, particularly when the synths go off grid, the synths go offline and start to throw out some exceptions, which results in waste and human death. So this period is a time of conflict and challenge. Of course, AI still has control, but the overseer realizes that we need to give humanity a bit of a opportunity to express themselves, because this is a moment where if we don't, there could be a complete human rebellion and total warfare, which is not in anybody's interests, really. So there's backstories around these cities, these secure cities. These secure cities emerge after the events of 2149, the warfare, and there's stories that haven't been released about that period. I mean, I'd love to see, when we have a little bit more time and we can dedicate some more resources to it, a series of novellas potentially, and the story can be told in multiple forms, sort of illustrated novellas using a lot of the concept art and 3D art. I think Kyle, when he was in Los Angeles, he spoke to a producer who worked with Netflix on a particular show, and he was pretty impressed with the lore and the level of depth that we'd created, and that underlying premise of what is it to be human in an AI-controlled world. Where are the boundaries? What are the calculations of risk and reward? What sets us apart? What instincts are going to help us prevail in a way that AI can't understand? And in all seriousness, these are questions we're going to probably have to grapple with as a species over the next 30 or 40 years. So, to be able to explore this premise in such an immersive and exciting and do it through the metaverse and Web3, and of course Web2, people are also welcome to join, but to do it with digital ownership and assets and all of that, it's just so exciting.
That's a great answer, guys. Thank you. And yeah, so based on sort of the land and the resources as well, another question we're getting is, will the land we buy continue to be useful after its resources are depleted?
So I'll jump in on this before Morgan gives a more detailed answer. Yes, and as Morgan hinted at, well, not hinted at, basically said it outright, there will be more resources added to the economy and to the systems, as the world grows in scale, and more complex crafting and mini games are added to the mix. And this means that there's always a potential that these different resources can either be, you can use your land to generate them or extract them. Always potential, not promise, obviously. There'll also be things in game that just require huge amounts of land, and being in possession of that land, just like in the real world, is obviously advantageous. And on top of that, there will be resources that are closer to, like say, crops, where it's a seasonal extraction flow rather than a kind of zero-sum game extraction. And now across to Morgan.
Yeah, so I did mention that one of the every plot has access to carbon harvesting, which is done by carbon dioxide ambient air harvesting, and then it's via some complicated chemical process. It's like separated out, and the carbon is actually extracted from the carbon dioxide. And that's just, that's a constant cycle that already happens in the real world. Obviously, right now, IRL, we have too much carbon in the atmosphere, so the idea of being able to take it out in an efficient way is actually fairly positive. And while we don't have that technology at a really efficient level yet in real life, maybe in a few hundred years, we will. So a lot of this is speculative fiction kind of stuff. But yeah, the idea is that every plot will always have access to carbon harvesting. So even after you've depleted the other resources, you'll still be able to get carbon from it, and carbon is used in basically everything. So that's like straight away one way that you'll always be able to use it. Also in the future, when we do expand out territory control and all of that stuff, these secure land plots can be used for, factory and construction and all of that kind of stuff as well, instead of, having harvesters there. So they'll always have a use, basically.
When Morgan says, speculative science fiction, just to kind of give some context, I fall very, very aggressively on the like technical science fiction that does its best to justify itself establish itself within physics and science as we know it now. So I think probably Star Trek is about as science fantasy as I go, and The Expanse is probably my favorite sci-fi from a technology context. Like the author of The Expanse has done so much research and put in a lot of effort to stay true to science understandings we have now, and I love that. Now, obviously, we have giant mechs, and there's like they are huge, and there's some absolutely exotic materials that would be required to actually construct a mech as we have them in Supremacy. But obviously, on that, right from the start, we've done our best to explain that in a way that actually makes sense, and as far as you can justify giant mechs, at least makes sense from a lore context. It's not science fantasy. And thankfully, Matt is aligned with me on this, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes a lot of sense from the overall narrative, and feeds into gameplay. So I think we're happily united on this one for sure.
All right, thanks, Matt, and thanks for that answer, guys. So we have another question, more based on what kind of events will happen in Supremacy World. Will we perhaps be moving this AMA or these AMAs over into Supremacy World and be doing them there? Will we host events such as parties and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I hope so. That's it actually harkens back to a project that Ninja had way before Supremacy. That we created at the start of the of COVID lockdowns. We created a little project called Pixel City, which was actually in Unity, and in fact the dev who worked on that primarily is also one of the core now Unreal Engine devs for Supremacy, and he's an absolutely amazing developer. And in 2 weeks, he knocked up this concept that we had, which was an actual video conferencing software where you have avatar in a 3D world, essentially, so you can actually have like location aware sound. so you can have large conversations with multiple people, with multiple conversations going on at once, and be able to context switch between them, like we do when, say, we have Christmas dinner with the family. There could be like 5 or 6 conversations going on at once. So we've, right even before Supremacy, the idea of a like large 3D space to actually communicate with visuals and sound is something that we've explored, and it'll definitely feature in Supremacy World.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the beginning, and what is exciting about this sort of metaverse style, I mean, for us, for our project, we're developing 3 cities and 3 territories and 3 parts of the world. And look at other projects, and I think I mentioned before, they might bite off one city and develop that and fully hone down everything onto that one place. But we're developing these 3 cities in different parts of the world with different cultures and environments that I hope will just develop over time. And 10 years from now, we'll still be talking about Neo Tokyo. We'll still be talking about Iron Core and Boston Prime. We'll be talking about different areas and different events that happen in these cities and different icons. I mean, there's going to be cafes and restaurants potentially. I mean, plus one health, go to a good cafe. Fashion. We've got 3D artists creating amazing fashion and this idea of impossible fashion, and how can we express ourselves in the metaverse in a way that we can't in the real world. I mean, I could go and buy fast fashion. I could be fashionable for a season, for a spring, and go out and swan around my city in the real world. But I might only get to 3 or 4 events, and then all of a sudden my whatever, my dress or my shirt or whatever I've stylishly bought is out of fashion. And that's wasteful in the real world. But if this idea of impossible fashion, which is a brand we're exploring within Boston, and it's going to be potentially throughout all 3 cities. Imagine if you have, what if you have fashion that can defy physics? You can wear hats like a haute couture hat that you only see on the fashion runway. What about if you can actually walk down the street and wear that? And you're not having an environmental impact. You're able to show and express yourself to your friends and to your community. These are things which are emerging at the moment. Going into a club or a bar and listening to a live DJ set. Raj has been known to put on a DJ set or 2. So having Raj play, having other community members go in there and play. Tuesday night is jazz night, Wednesday night is blues night, Friday night is cranking house night. I'm sure Alex would be keen for a drum and bass night on a Saturday night. So these are live events, and having a New Year's Eve party in Arcadia Rise, that sounds pretty appealing. So this is to be explored, and like I think Morgan hinted at before, we want people to have agency and people to be able to set up potentially their own business in this space, to have their own production, their own facilities. So we're just at the very beginning of what's possible. Of course, we won't let this detract from the larger story and what is the initial impetus for Supremacy, but this is there's a lot of scope for creativity here, and that's why I'm so attracted to this space as well. It empowers the creators. I mean, we're our company, Ninja Syndicate, we're giving talks, and in a few weeks' time, we're talking to one of the local high schools and trying to inspire them and show them what's possible in the creative industries. So it is possible now to be a 3D animator. In fact, we don't have nearly enough to be a 2D concept artist, to be a smart contract writer, to be a developer, to be a law writer. I mean, to have a full-time job working on the law, I just pinch myself. I just can't believe that this is actually a thing. I mean, and Web3 enables that. Now, of course, it's possible Web2, but Web3 gives it a new economic paradigm. So, really exciting time for creatives and for people to be creative in the land that they own, the apartment that they own. I mean, Morgan's a big fan of the ability to create the space and furnish your apartment, and even move some things that in the real world you might not be able to move in an apartment, but to be able to make that space your own and to invite your friends in there. So absolutely, I see future AMAs being housed in the metaverse and in our cities. So yeah, it's super exciting.
On that community creation, player creation type stuff, everyone make sure you at least pay attention to and hang out in the community projects channel in Discord, because there's already some cool stuff going on in there, and it puts pressure on me to make sure that we release more stuff for the community to work with. And it's a side of things that I've always been committed to, but we can get lost in the weeds of actually building the game and forget that everyone out there can help us create even more immersion and cool stuff. So yeah, jump in there, support the stuff that people are doing, because it's cool. And if you've got ideas, it doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter how crazy it is, put it in there and we'll see if we can help you. And I can't wait to see that channel when when Supremacy World is in full swing, because it's going to be even more insane. It's going to be amazing. All right, Raj, next question.
Great, guys. Thank you. So yeah, just on to the next question here. So if we're going to be using mechs for travel, might we see models dedicated to that role? Could we also see other non-combat mechs built for things like constructions and mining?
Yes, definitely, 100%. Mechs, even outside of combat contexts, will play a part in Supremacy World, and I'm pretty sure that there's quite a lot of concept art, especially around Red Mountain and their mining operations on Mars, etc., that already demonstrate this. Yeah, simple answer, yes. I guess I'll make sure we leak some concepts around this in the next month or so.
Yeah, you'll actually note when this first land resource management system comes out, a lot of the automation is done by robots and little rovers and maybe some little mech-like things as well. As for travel-focused mechs, making dedicated ones for that maybe one day. You're more likely to see variants of existing mech models that are streamlined for that kind of purpose. But yeah, anything's possible in the future.
Right,
Next
cool.
question, Raj.
Thanks, guys. Will more key cards be minted, or are they supposed to be rare?
There won't be any more minted of the current variety. That does not mean there won't be single-use key cards or special contextual key cards minted in the future. I don't want to make any promises around that, because I think we'll probably play with those dynamics for some of the challenges. Also, there's definitely going to be times where we maybe set the goal a bit too high for ourselves. Let's say we launch a game mechanic where if you burn your key cards, you get blah, and then we don't get as much participation because people are worried about their rare key cards. So we have to be careful. But the key cards that are out there now, the what you could call the Genesis key cards, we will not mint any more of them.
Cool. So Fox Saber, I'm sorry I did miss that last question, so I'll go back to ask that again. The question is, will we be limited to human character customization, or will we have access to some unique and unusual, perhaps even non-human options?
All right, I'm just going to pass this straight to Matt because I know he's itching to answer it. Go Matt, go.
I just don't know how much I can say.
Go
Oof.
on.
Yeah, well, it's again, with the uprising of humanity, people have agency, people have profiles, and we have a profile on the battle arena at the moment, Supremacy.game, and on Exon as well. There's a profile section there, but yeah, we're looking at giving this a pretty significant overhaul, and the ability to choose an avatar which will have enhancements as well. So we probably can't go into too much detail on this at the moment, but yeah, rest assured there is a really a pretty serious undertaking, and you'll have a lot of choices when it comes to your avatar in the game. I'm keen to explore other sort of citizenship elements to it as well. So it's something that we really need to talk about and to plan out carefully. But at this stage, we have a huge amount of concept art that's come through, which expresses all sorts of weird and wonderful shades of humanity. And it's going to be great to see these profiles in the game, and also some non-human elements as well. Morgan and I have been talking about an onboarding sort of experience where you'll be able to create your profile in line with your there's some choices that you'll be making, which would put you in a certain area and give you some certain starting points within the game. So big conversation, but yeah, lots in the pipeline. I'm not sure if Morgan, if you want to comment on that or wait till we've confirmed this.
I can give some like general stuff to it. So like how I was talking earlier about how we want to move towards one account, multiple characters. So yeah, when you like create a new character or your first character, yeah, you'll go through a little bit of like a character generation system with varying options depending on like when we're able to fully implement it, and we'll probably build onto it over time as well. So like if we would add it to the battle arena right now, it would be pretty simple. There wouldn't really be any gameplay influencing decisions to be made. You would have like a 2D, like a kind of shoulders up avatar. It's not like a 3D made one, anything like that. But in the future, it could be much more sophisticated and more in depth, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of potential. As for like what it's like, it'll just depend on what phase of the whole game we're in. Like at times, it's important to note that we are effectively like an early access game, and so rather than being like a game that's been worked on for years and years and then released fully formed, we're a game that is having stuff added to it step by step and in phases. So we'll talk a lot about what we want the game to be like, but when it will be fully like that is unclear sometimes, or further down the line than we have actually planned out the dev schedule for. But it doesn't mean that we're not working towards it, and we'll also often find ways to implement these systems, but on a simpler partial level over time.
Yeah, I think we have to make it clear that we're taking everyone along for the ride. So, this isn't a holding ourselves up in a studio and then releasing something in 5 years, which would be nice. We are week by week, fortnight by fortnight, month by month, and we're releasing it, as fast as we can, and making sure that everyone in the community is seeing the constant progress, and that's why we've done this Supremacy World announcement and introduction, because we can't keep leaking things that are not related to something people know we're working on. It's obvious from a lot of my leaks that they're not Battle Arena. So now you know. Now you know what Supremacy World is. Well, at least you know as much as we've told you and shown you. And then there's obviously still more to come.
Sweet. Yeah, definitely excited for that. And we'll just move on to some more questions here. And I think people are asking, what sort of utility will Nexus assets have in Supremacy World?
Sorry, Raj, I missed that. What was that question?
Sorry. Yeah, what utility will Nexus assets have in Supremacy World?
So I'm guessing by Nexus assets primarily mean mechs and weapons. I mean, they'll have huge utility. That's what you'll be defending your land with. That's what you'll be obviously still battling with in the battle arena, and those mechs will be piloted by our first-person shooter pilots. These are not separate games in a sense. They are all part of the same universe, and the assets flow freely between them, and they all inhabit the same world.
Great. And the next question is, are mech posters going to be able to be put up on your apartment walls? So like the death poster, for example, that you got from the Whitelist game.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That was like a really early thing we talked about, like the conversation I mentioned earlier with like the devs and stuff to do with the customizable space and hangers. Like we were just sort of like, oh, we could let people put their posters up in their hanger hallways and all that jazz. But obviously, it's going to be much more sophisticated and interesting than that with the properties and everything. But yeah, basically like all the stuff that you've gotten from us in that kind of form, if you can put it up in your property somehow, then we'll find a way to do it.
Cool. Can I access my hangar from my apartment?
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, simple as that. Yes.
Cool. And also, guys, yeah, remember, if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand and I'll let you in. And I think some of them are asking for some more repair game leaks. Do we have any more of them?
Maybe.
Yeah, kind of do.
I can talk about them in terms of like visual stuff, not as much in the way of like really new visual stuff. It's kind of
There kind of is. Let me confirm while Morgan speaks to it.
Yeah, so like the repair game was originally like just sort of a little brainchild project of one of our devs, and another one of our devs has also been working on it now as well. Original one being Staza, and now Pete's been working on it a bunch, and we actually had a pretty good chat about like just the game design parts of it the other day, which he's been working on putting more of it into it. So to basically figure out, like how long would we expect a player to have to take to repair a full mech? What kinds of ways can we make the game have enough variety and replayability that it's going to actually be interesting to go and do? A bunch of games that like we can get a lot of inspiration from. and the different ways in which we might be able to potentially have other systems interact with it. That's also where I got the idea of the whole nano repair kits thing from, and the making of those will be part of this game as well at some point too. Like we'll want to, eventually we'll want to offer this as like a full-on way to go and do anything to do with repairing, basically. But I think like some of the stuff that's getting added now is just like new. There's like some new components that you use to repair the mech with, different types of damage that the mech has suffered that you have to use different things to repair, like adding of like tools and like diagnostic stuff. There's a new like terminal that's used to get like the fabricators or the like the repair. The Alex posted a video there that'll convey exactly what I was trying to say there. But yeah, it's coming along. It's looking really cool. I'm really excited for like the potential for it, and I'm like a well-known, not a big fan of like just bolting mini games onto things, and I'm really excited that this is actually going to be like much more of a full-blown, game in its own right, which is just really, really exciting to me. For anyone who's played like Overcooked or Viscera Cleanup Simulator or Deep Rock Galactic, there's a lot of that sort of inspiration going into it.
Great. So yeah, just moving on to another question here. What will we be able to do with our staked subs? Alex.
Yeah, this is the kind of question that John needs to be here for. There's quite a big announcement coming around all this kind of stuff, so I don't want to talk to it at this point in time. We will have an AMA, or like another once we do the AMA, the Ethereum migration, and we announce what is in store for LP holders. We'll speak to this more thoroughly, and John will be in that AMA, which it's better coming straight from the horse's mouth. So yeah, put this in the book for next AMA, Raj.
Awesome, got it. Cool. So I've got RM and BC cards, and will that be able to give me access into places in those cities as well?
Yes, but as a spy, as someone who may be rooted out.
Oh. And in Supremacy World, are you limited to only socialize with your faction, or will there be public spaces for all of our factions to be able to meet and interact?
There'll definitely be cross-faction social areas, and there's already a bit of lore around that. And the city that the Hive exists in is essentially a non-factional city. It's controlled by the Overseer directly, and Supremacy World will explore that city too.
Great. And for the apartments, will there be a potential for like utilities, like workstations in your apartments?
Yeah, definitely. And some of the material we'll put out in the next day or so, or potentially even today, will kind of demonstrate that.
Cool. And will there be a Steam client or a similar launcher eventually?
Yes, very soon. The desktop client that's coming is essentially a launcher.
So just to be clear here about the Founders Pack. So the Founders Pack and the land are going to be exactly the same, or are they different assets?
So the Founders Pack contains a land asset, a apartment asset, and a few other miscellaneous things that are unique to the founders packs, and will only exist from the founders packs purchased.
Cool. And so now the question is, what is prioritized in development? Is Supremacy World the priority, or is it the battle arena, or maybe the first-person shooter, or maybe the resource system, or something else entirely?
So the lucky thing is that in general, the teams that work on these are quite separate. They can focus almost entirely on their bit. The battle arena right now is obviously a priority, especially as we're working very hard on getting Nexus ready for deployment. So everyone jump into Proving Grounds and give us more feedback. There'll be updates going out on Proving Grounds probably mid to end of next week. That should bring some of the changes in. People have been talking in feedback, and Morgan has been working tirelessly on providing more balance around the weapons. The work to stop the platform mechs, especially getting stuck in the world, is nearing completion as well. That'll be deployed next week. So kind of short term Nexus and getting the battle arena Nexus ready is our like quickest commitment. That'll be the first thing that gets launched. And then the battle arena from the first person perspective and like interfacing it through the desktop client is, well, I mean, that's actually something we've not stopped working on like the last few months. So that's always been a top priority for us, and that is the start of the greater first person shooter game.
Right. Yeah, so will players be able to influence the story through Supremacy World? So the already pre-existing lore, I'm guessing this is a question primarily for Matt.
Yes, there'll be quests that occur, and that will sort of be a catalyst for player actions and movements. I mean, we're interested to see what happens with these inner city apartment dwellings that are going on sale next week. So again, Acadia Rise, Corbin Flats, and Dancy Neon. How many flats do we have? Who owns the apartments? Who owns these apartments? Is there a lot of individual owners, or do we have one or two large holders? How's that going to work with the economy in that part of the world? What's that going to mean for the social space? So absolutely, actions have consequence in the metaverse, and that's the way we intend it to be. We don't know what that's going to be, but player movements, player decisions, getting out to the outer sectors to be able to mine your land, who's mining what land, what resources they create, how that impacts abilities in the battle arena. It's all a moving feast of actions and consequences. So absolutely. In terms of storyline, we said it before. If anyone is keen to write some stories, some side stories, some historical stories, would be interesting as well. I mean, there's the storyline on Supremacy World starts in 2020, so and it goes all the way up to 2152. So if there's any writers out there, any animators who are interested in slicing off a little part of the world and contributing, just drop it into the lore channel. We want to have a side stories space for the open world as well, for Supremacy World. So I'll happily read anything that people submit. I know there was some community members who submitted some designs, some engineering designs a little while ago, and talked about different combinations of alloys and these types of things. So that's really interesting from a technical perspective. So as mentioned before, this is a creative space, and if you've got any inkling or anything that you really need to express yourself and you want to get involved, absolutely send it through. These cities we're building out, I mean, they need content, they need spaces, they need information. So yeah, there's lots of opportunity there.
Yeah, from a narrative design perspective, this is a complex topic that kind of comes in I guess almost 4 prongs, I guess. So firstly, there'll be your character's personal story, I suppose. So if we, have some kind of campaign or ongoing storyline that your character is involved in, then the way that you play through that will be will be your personal character story. That's how a lot of RPGs and any other game that has any kind of storyline in it kind of works. There's all of the emergent storytelling, which is I went into this battle arena with these players, and this is how it went down, and this is the story that I tell about how it worked. That's always kind of a part of any kind of cooperative game in a lot of respects. We are intending to have events happen in the setting that have basically gameplay stuff that interacts with the event, and the outcome of the event will determine how the storyline actually turns out in the canon. Yeah, that sort of thing will also kind of happen. And then there'll also be when Supremacy World on a big, larger scale gets put together, there'll be the sort of ongoing player-driven story of the world and the setting and all of the different syndicates and factions and how they compete with each other. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways in which it will go, but some are much more freeform than others. It all depends.
Raj, next question.
Sorry, and didn't realize that I was on mute there. My bad again.
Raj.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, so Kilroy's asking if we can get some more whitelist music-esque tracks.
Yep, our sound and music designer, Joshua, is hard at work. So there's going to be a lot more original music, and once we have the desktop client launcher, there'll be even more ways for us to share that music with the community. So yeah, it's coming. I think we'll also start polishing these songs into proper 3 to 5 minute actual produced songs and actually submit them to Spotify. So yeah, more's coming.
Brilliant. And this is more of a yes or no question here. So to clarify, what doesn't sell in this sale, will it get burnt?
Yes.
Right.
Now the apartments themselves, though, they exist in the physical world of Supremacy, and same with the land plots. But the things that make those apartments and land founders, that'll be burned. That it won't exist.
Great. And yeah, so this is a question that sort of popped up a few times now. Uh, it's a question about protecting the mint from bots. So
Uh,
how
I mean, I think this is definitely more a problem for bull run times. I don't think there's many bots camping these kind of mints anymore. Um, obviously, like the intention is not for one wallet to purchase up everything, and then the community, not people from the community don't get anything. So there's there'll obviously be mechanisms in place to stop that. It doesn't mean that someone couldn't spin up 200 wallets and do exactly that, but it would take a bit of doing. And if that kind of thing did happen, we would make sure that the community basically gets their reward anyway. We're I would be extremely disappointed and sad if you know when Supremacy World is launched that everyone who's in our Discord community um like actually missed out on having that founder status because they all deserve it. So yeah, that's I don't see it as a likely thing to happen, but we would absolutely make sure that we'll do our best to make sure it doesn't happen, and then if it did, we would make sure the community is still rewarded.
wonderful. So a question here from Fox Sabers. I love the look of these building assets. Are these how we will see them in the game, or will we actually be able to approach and enter them in Supremacy World?
Yeah, you'll actually be able to approach and enter them. Um, I'm not going to promise that when you first jump into one of the Supremacy World cities that every single building will right away be explorable. But there's not going to be any kind of limits to that from our development perspective.
Yeah, this is again a question of like phases of how stuff's going to get released. So like early on, we'll have like the apartments, a few smaller social spaces that you can go and meet other people's avatars in, and like sort of the travel between those will be relatively simple and straightforward to begin with. But as we roll out more additions to Supremacy World, it'll get more and more directly interconnected and stuff like that. There's always going to be like some elements of technical limitations as well. So we'll have to have some stuff that's a bit more instanced. Like when you go to someone's apartment, you'll load into it, and that way we're able to have them be as detailed and sophisticated as we can. But in like larger spaces, we'd want them to be all pretty seamless in terms of transiting between them. So yeah, there's some technical hurdles, some that I'm not totally sure about myself, not being one of the devs. But there's also just there's some design implications for like how seamless things can be as well, and we'll want to be really careful and thoughtful about some of those too. But yeah, at some point you will be able to walk around a social space, and if a building looks like you can go into it, you'll be able to go into it. That's sort of like the end goal, really.
Yeah, the end goal is a living, breathing city. There's the idea of sectioned off areas that you can't visit and you can't properly explore. I'm really against that, but obviously there's a time and resource question to all this kind of stuff. So, we are going down the path of like procedural style generation, but procedural generation only gets you so far, and I like our artists to do at least another one or two passes over procedurally generated stuff to really make it properly immersive. Um, But yeah, this is definitely not going to be one of those games where there's areas that you can only look at.
Wonderful, thank you. Matt, so this is a question for you. Do holidays like Halloween and Christmas still exist in Supremacy, or will there be new holidays instead? And will we celebrate them in Supremacy World?
That's a great question.
Yeah, time will be a thing in Supremacy World. So we started the whole process. The first game launch, it was 2149. The year is now 2152, so time has moved on. 1 year in our world is approximately 4 years in the Supremacy World, or is 4 years in the Supremacy World. So there will be events, and one clear event I see coming up is New Year's Eve. So that's a universal. My feeling is that the calendar in 130 odd years from now will be similar to what it will be in terms of having calendar years. So I can't see any reason why we wouldn't have a New Year's Eve event. Mentioned it before in Arcadia Rise, and in our world it'll be turning from 22 to 23, but in Supremacy World it'll be turning from 2152 to 2153. So that is the first event that I can see on the calendar. In terms of other events, I think we'll have to talk to the team and work out, and talk to the community as well. I mean, we could have events that celebrate storyline such as Cain and the achievements of Cain, which, as I mentioned before, have been shown in the graphic novel, but there's more to Cain's story. The graphic novel is actually to be continued. So the second part and the third part that has been fleshed out, it involves that human uprising. So we may see that that character is celebrated in some way. It could even be an underground celebration. So the overseer, of course, would dictate what sort of events happen. But I quite like the idea of having events in the real life represented in game world. But yeah, I think that's something that I'm keen to talk to Morgan about as well, from that narrative design perspective as well, because you don't want to compromise genre, you don't want to compromise gameplay, you don't want to be cheesy, so you want to do it in a way that makes sense for everyone.
I like the idea of informal holidays that the players enforce. Yeah, I think it's a question that honestly none of us have really considered. So, yeah, I guess we can do some fun stuff with it.
Yeah, besides New Year's Eve, I'm keen for something to really crank that time. So I'd love to make that happen.
Raj, next question.
All right, cool. So yeah, guys, if you want to ask a question, raise your hand. If I've missed a question of yours, I'm really sorry. So please type it back in again, and I'll answer them for you. So with Supremacy World, where will it be available? Are we looking at it being on PC, mobile? Is it still going to be on web?
It'll be PC. It won't be web. Ultimately, we are developing it to work on consoles as well. But we don't have any kind of commitments from Sony or Microsoft or anything like that, so it's not something that I can promise. But that is something we're exploring, and ultimately, we would love to be on those platforms, and it just makes sense to be on those platforms. But definitely PC from day one, and we'll try to support other platforms like Mac and Linux. But again, we can't promise those platforms because we are kind of beholden to compatibility within Unreal Engine, especially Unreal Engine 5. There's certain features that are not compatible on those platforms yet that we use. So, but we anticipate them becoming compatible on Mac and Linux. So hopefully it's just a matter of time. But the alpha release will 100% be on Windows.
Amazing. I think those are all the questions that the community has been asking for in regards to Supremacy World. I know that Morgan, you have some updates for the Battle Arena. Is that correct?
I sure do.
Cool. So yeah, what do you have for us?
All right. So upcoming battle arena stuff. So first and foremost, obviously, we've got the Nexus release. That's coming with all, the Nexus mechs and weapons. There's also going to be the new utility equipment. Utility equipment are currently we have four things that are being implemented for like the initial Nexus release, but there's going to be plenty more. Utilities come in sort of two varieties. There's passive and active ones. Passive ones would give your mech some kind of, passive bonus or increase or adjustment. And active ones give you like a particular ability or a system that you can turn on that will do some other stuff. So some examples of that would be the new Nexus utility shield is referred to as the Arc Shield. And it's basically like the orb shields that the Genesis mechs have, but it's only projected in one 90-degree wide field, essentially. So it will protect your mech from one direction. Currently, you can set them to face whichever direction of your mech that you like. They'll face either forward, backward, left, right, or they'll face upwards. And they function like the orb shields. They have a hit point pool. When it gets depleted, it breaks, and it has to then recharge. So yeah, that's like an example of one of the utilities. You'll be able to put them in the dedicated utility hardpoints on your mechs. So that's something new that's going to be in there. So that's all the main stuff to do with equipment and assets and whatnot in Nexus. There's also going to be all of the new changes to the battle lobby system. So we're going to have, I think we'll basically have like 3 ways that you can use your mechs and play. So there'll be the standard lobbies, which are the ones that have like random map. They have no entrance cost, and they're like how everything works with them is determined by us. They're just default baseline lobbies. You can just join them. You can join them both as War Machine operators. So there'll be 3 of them per side, one per one War Machine per player, and you'll be controlling them, as directly as possible. So for the time being, with the web client, it'll be via Mech Commander and various ability buttons and the minimap and all that jazz. But when we launch the desktop clients, you'll be able to control them much like you would a unit in a real-time strategy game or in a MOBA. So you'll be able to select them and actually just click around on the map itself and use all of their abilities in a much more real-time kind of sense. So whenever we refer to the MOBA part of Battle Arena, that's what we're referring to as like the control scheme. And then there'll also be, at some point as well, the first-person shooter version. So you'll be able to join Battle Arena as a first-person pilot. It's my hope that will be able to have both of these control schemes like compatible. So you'll be able to enter a battle lobby as a first-person pilot or as an operator commander, and be able to be facing it against, or have other people on your team who are using a different control scheme, and there'll be pros and cons for both in their own ways. We'll see how all of that goes. Maybe that won't work out, and we'll have to keep them a bit siloed from each other. But I'm hoping we'll be able to have them mixed. But yeah, so we'll have those lobbies, that lobby system coming. There'll also be the player created lobbies. So these are ones where you can you choose what the map is. You can set up different settings for it. Fairly simple ones to begin with, but we'll be able to build them out over time as we add other ways to change how a battle arena battle works. You'll also be able to set like an entrance fee, and then how that fee is like divvied up amongst the results of the match, that kind of thing. And then we'll also have we don't really have like a final kind of title for this mode yet, but it'll effectively be one where you can, it's AI only. There won't be any kind of mech commander or anything like that. It'll just be where you send your mechs in and they'll fight against other people's mechs with their onboard AI determining how they behave. And as we've like hinted at in the past, there's going to be ways for people to script their own AI, and that will be like the big showcase arena for that kind of stuff. That'll be where you'll be able to use your AI scripts and have them fight up against each other depending on like what they're equipped with and how you've put them together. When we first release that, we'll probably have a number of presets that will determine how they behave, and therefore what sort of loadout you should give them. And then at some point we'll be able to roll out the customization system too. So it's the lobby stuff that's coming with Nexus. And then we also have a number of other major features and also some changes to how a bunch of gameplay stuff works. So where to start here? So Alex has talked about Faction Pass before, which is I'm always slightly unfamiliar with some crypto related terms, but this is the one where you can like stake your mechs into your faction. So you put them into like a pool of mechs for your faction, and players who don't have mechs or don't have any unrepaired mechs or whatever, they'll be able to effectively borrow those mechs, and a portion of like the winnings or the rewards from your mechs getting used will then go to you. You will also be having a similar system for syndicates at some point as well, where you'll be able to like put them into a syndicate pool, and it'll function similarly, but just within your syndicate. So we'll have that system. Faction Pass will also give you some other rewards for having it during we're going to be like moving to a kind of seasonal system in terms of like player stats. Like we'll be tracking player statistics for a season, and then they'll get reset for the next season. You'll still be able to see your lifetime statistics, of course, but we'll also be tracking them based on season, and we'll have like seasonal rewards or events, things like that as well. I won't use the term season pass or whatever yet. I don't know if we'll be doing anything like that, so just to hold off on any questions regarding that. That's not really like a thing that we've planned out yet. Next stuff, player progression. So I know people have been talking about this a lot. When are we going to have a progression system that is more than just owning stuff? I have been working very hard on building a player progression leveling XP system, and most of the details of that will be in the dev blog coming out early next week. But the short of it is that whenever you do anything in the battle arena, you will get XP. You will be able to level your character. As your character levels, you'll gain access to abilities that you're able to use for your mech as a supporter or as a sponsor, which is like a spectator that does stuff in a battle. So you'll actually have to put in some time in order to access more, different abilities, not necessarily more powerful, just different ones. Also, as you level up, you'll be able to get some other cosmetic rewards. We're planning on adding a bunch of customization options for like player profile and also for like the starting screens for battles, how they show like your stats, how they show your mechs. So we'll have, some basic versions of those will be available through leveling, and then we'll also have others that will come from like, maybe faction pass or, from like leaderboards at the end of seasons or, buyable for subs from the store, that sort of thing as well. And yeah, so that XP system will be something that you will be able to interact with no matter how you're playing, whether you have subs or are getting subs or not, and it will always have a tangible effect on how you're able to, play the game. So it'll be, really important, and it will also incentivize playing the one character, the one account, more than others. We're also overhauling the abilities system a fair bit, as some players have sort of already seen. We're kind of now like limiting the types of abilities that different player roles get. So mech operators will get all of the mech focused abilities, stuff like overcharge and like the repair ability and that kind of thing. Then we'll have like the support commanders, who are the people who join those lobbies as well for that role, and they'll get all of the battle abilities, things like airstrike and EMP and yes, even nuke in certain cases. And then we're also going to have sort of a new role that I refer to as sponsors. And basically, if you are just spectating a game, if you choose to interact with that game by dropping like the consumable items that I was talking about earlier as being craftable with the resources that you can get from the new land system, though if you drop those consumables into a battle to help out your team, you effectively become a sponsor and you'll get XP rewards and whatnot from doing that. And that is like another way to interact with it. It's a way that players who are just spectators are still able to have some influence on a battle without it being uncapped and really, really swingy depending on spectator numbers on different battles. The other way that this is going to interact with the new XP system is that you will, for each of these roles, you'll have a different loadout of abilities. And those are the abilities that you'll be able to use for a battle when you go into it. So you'll have a certain number of slots for different types of abilities. They'll have charges for them, which means you'll only be able to use them a certain number of time before you need to get new charges. And those can come from the consumable drops that sponsors are able to drop in, or you might get them from like defeating another mech, stuff like that. And I think that's the bulk of the new stuff. Obviously, there'll be a lot more detail in the blog post coming early next week. But if people have questions about these systems, then can continue to answer them now as well.
Sure, thanks for that update, Morgan.
Raj,
So,
a couple more questions.
yeah, we do. So, with all this new info, how do people make money? Where do you envision the players making money and engaging in Supremacy World?
So I don't want to get too dragged into the whole play to earn argument. There's a news article posted on Cointelegraph recently from an interview that John and I did with journalist from there that really tried to make a claim that I said that play to earn could solve unemployment. That is a whole realm that I don't even want to get dragged into. To be honest, once is enough. But in saying that, just like at the battle arena with the repair, the repairs outsourcing, there'll be lots of opportunities to earn subs from other players inside Supremacy World, and there'll be ways to earn subs from your like mining and resource refining and trading, and there'll be even more ways than exist now, and Supremacy World gives us the latitude to really implement a circular economy, which has always been the intention, and when we get to player creations such as skins and things like furniture and really cool stuff like that, there'll be even more ways to potentially earn subs from the marketplaces and from other players. So it just gets deeper and richer, and ceases to be as much of a zero-sum game as the battle arena currently is. So Supremacy World is the like manifestation of our vision around all of these kind of concepts. And like I've said a million times, EVE Online is a heavy inspiration for how our economy will work.
Yeah, it's a pretty complex topic to talk about, because there's so many factors involved in a lot of this, and like we can't just kind of produce tangible valued currency out of nowhere. There needs to be something that is the origin of it to a certain degree. It's like I've talked with like Matt and John and Alex and Kyle and many other people at the studio, and done a lot of research over the past few months about figuring out all of the economic stuff, all of the economic design for the game. And I mean, it's tough, and there's also not many good examples of this out there that have really truly worked. Like there's a lot of games that are using cryptocurrencies that say they want to be able to do that sort of thing, and they've only managed it either to some degree or for a very short amount of time, and then had it kind of fall apart or collapse or just not really turn out the way that people expected. So this doesn't have decades of precedent before it, and I'm not super used to this kind of economics design to begin with either. So I've been consulting with as many different people I've been able to, and doing like a lot of research for it. So really it's still too early to promise anything really major. I'm like Alex was saying about that article, like those were like sweeping promises or statements that are way bigger than we feel confident, or well, maybe not confident, but like informed enough to be able to say. But it is the intent that the economy of the battle arena, but also Supremacy World and the other aspects of the overall Supremacy World franchise, built together, will be able to offer players a way to turn the like work or assets or time that they spend in the game into a tangible currency that they're able to use elsewhere or outside of the game. That is kind of the broad strokes goal of the economic systems that I've been trying to figure out and put together, and the reward systems that we want to have in the game. But I won't make any specific promises to like really specific questions about it, because it's just very difficult to answer right now with sufficient confidence. I actually realized that there is one other thing I forgot to mention in my little sort of announcement thing earlier, which is that we're also going to be adding a new secondary currency to the game as well. We don't have a formalized like name for this currency yet, but this is basically the non-premium currency that is used for a lot of gameplay only focused things. So obviously there's been some concern in the past about Supremacy becoming too pay to win. This is essentially the kind of solution for that. When it comes to players paying to win, quote unquote, a lot of it's going to be about spending subs to save time or to catch up or to have more options. And this secondary currency will be something that you'll also just earn from gameplay, and it'll be the sort of thing that you're able to spend on much more gameplay focused things. So the consumable system that I was talking about earlier, since that's likely to get implemented before the whole like land and resource system is really put together, we'll be using that secondary currency as the way that players are able to buy those consumables. It'll also be used to buy the utility equipment that you're able to get. And while it won't have like a complete interaction with subs, it will have some ways for you to turn earning that secondary currency into subs. So those utility equipment that I mentioned, so you'll be able to buy those with this secondary currency, but then you can sell those on the marketplace for either that currency or subs. So you'll be able to turn that kind of work into subs if other players want to buy those utility items without having to spend quite as much time, and you have extra or you don't need them, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's like fully like our intent that players will be able to do that sort of thing with it as well. But having this system allows us to preserve the worth of subs for the things that we and players really want it to be used for, while also being able to open up a lot of other options for like rewarding players for playing and then allowing them to use those rewards for playing more, and therefore like earning other rewards in the process at the same time.
Cool, thank you. So yeah, just on that, like, are there any more words on how player syndicates are going to be working?
I guess I'll give the quick gameplay stuff, and then Alex can talk about the broader things. So you'll be able to make a syndicate. You'll be able to have other players join. You'll be able to make kind of restrictions on like what players can join. You'll be able to have private communication things. You could, well, hopefully at some point you'll be able to make like private lobbies that you can just use to practice against each other in your syndicate. You'll have the sort of syndicate pool of war machines that other syndicate members can use, and that the syndicate members who own them get some rewards from, and also the syndicate itself also gets some rewards from. We'll be having that integrated into Supremacy World in the form of like the apartments. Initially, like the bigger apartments that we're going to be selling later down the line in the future, you'll be able to set up like terminals and stuff in the larger ones that can serve as like a hub or a meeting space for your syndicate, and you'll be able to control all of your like syndicate options and whatever through that kind of hub as well. Yeah, obviously, we'll be expanding it out a lot more as other stuff gets expanded. I'd like to integrate, sharing control and like, manipulation of all of the land and resources stuff with the syndicate system as well. Basically, it's a way for you to share other assets and resources and stuff like that with other players in a way that's really formalized and safe. So yeah, and then I'm sure Alex has got a lot more to talk about this, and also for Matt probably does as well.
No. Okay,
sorry,
that really covered it. Yeah. I don't have anything to add. Like syndicates will be able to own property, and they'll be able to run a lot of their governance through the 3D world and the the web and phone interfaces as well. So yeah, but really I don't have anything super complex to add to that.
Cool. I'll move on to the next question then. Unless Matt, did you have something to say? Sorry.
Oh, not really. I think I like the fact that you can team up with others, that you can create specialities and work to your strengths. So I think that's that idea of networking and having a strong foundation in a fairly brutal world has a lot of appeal. So yeah, can't wait for Play Syndicates myself. That's it.
Thanks, Matt. So yeah, just on this next question here as well. How will crime be managed in Supremacy World? I noticed what looked like robotic guards that seem to be the primary law enforcers. What if you cause more trouble than they can deal with? Would you go to jail if captured?
So I'm going to answer this without fully answering it. Firstly, the way crime will be handled will vary slightly based on the faction and the general I guess the relationship between the AI and the humans in that faction will inform how the essentially police respond to you. But you can be guaranteed that it will usually be with overwhelming force, especially in very secure areas. So if you have run-ins with law enforcement, you better either be able to get away fast, or you better be packing some serious firepower, because the systems the law enforcement will use will definitely be able to take down troublemakers quickly.
Will it be like GTA where you have sort of the different stars? So lower level crime you can easily get away from, and then high level crime, you're pretty much in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, again, the distinctions between low level and high level crime is something that will be assessed differently in different factional areas.
Cool. So yeah, another question here. Details on PG limited edition skins.
Yeah, we will release the designs not next week after. And anyone who puts in 24 hours in the Proving Grounds will receive one. And what I mean by puts in 24 hours, I don't mean idle. I mean they're actually, they're in the repair game. They're playing in the battle arena, like they're doing stuff. So just being online is not enough. You have to actually be active.
Great. This is just another question back onto the battle arena side of things. Do you have some info on objectives in the battle arena, like King of the Hill, or capturing areas for points, or capture the energy core?
Yeah, there's a list of game modes that will be brought in over time, and some really interesting ones that I'm really keen to explore. But without going into too much detail, I think this is probably better answered in a blog post by Morgan. But yeah, definitely there'll be lots of different game modes, especially once we go first person shooter, because that it'll make a lot more sense then.
Sweet. Next question here. Do those abilities get provided fresh at the start of every battle, or do you need to buy/earn them?
So currently, like in Proving Grounds, the abilities are provided to the supporters at the start of the battle, and then we may have like warm-up timers and things like that be introduced. And these are all things that obviously Morgan is playing with.
Yeah, so when like the full system that I was talking about is put together, so you'll have your loadout, and the abilities will all have a number of uses, like either per battle or like starting uses for the battle. Just that's refilled every time you go in. Like you won't need to keep buying new ones. Basically, like if an ability is like just if it's called an ability, then you don't need to like keep refilling it or anything like that in terms of like buying stuff outside of a battle. The consumables, which are the things used by sponsors, which are like the supply drops and maybe some other stuff that we'll figure out. Those are consumed when you use them, and those will need to be like bought or crafted each time you want to use one. And some of those will be, like instant effects that a mech or your team get if they're able to go and pick them up. Some of them might be giving a charge to a mech ability. So say if you think about like the two mech abilities that War Machines have at the moment are Overcharge and Repair. So you might start a battle with 2 charges of Repair and 2 charges of Overcharge. But that's not the maximum you can have for the battle. You could have a sponsor drop in a crate that gives you, another charge for one of the abilities, and you go and pick it up, and you're able to recharge that ability so you can use it again. And in exchange for that, we'll be tweaking like the balance of them. Say I'm intending Repair to now be a thing that your mech actually has to stop and use, and it won't be able to do anything else while it's repairing. It'll be in like a vulnerable state. So you'll have to like move behind cover or be in a safe position away from the enemy before you can actually go and repair. And Overcharge might be a bit more powerful, or adjusted in some way in exchange for having much more limited uses in it. As for the like supporter abilities, the battle abilities like airstrike, etc. Yeah, they'll have a set number of those depending on their loadout slots when they start a battle, and there'll also be some of those abilities will also be what I sort of call like cooperative abilities. So some of you have seen us leak some pictures or footage of the new faction abilities that are getting added. The Red Mountain Turret, the Drone Swarm for Zaibatsu, and of course the Boston's going to be getting its K9 Patrollers back. Those abilities won't just be activated by like one support commander, but rather they'll be able to like use it and then coordinate with the other supporters about where to deploy it. And maybe if 2 of you both come in with the ability in your loadout, you'll be able to like use it at the same time to get a more powerful version, or to like deploy 2 lots at the same time, or you'll just keep them separate so that you can deploy 2 of them at different times or different places, that kind of thing. Yeah, there's basically a lot more focus on having to be careful with your use of abilities and making choices about what ones you're going to actually go into a battle with and how they complement your mech or your playstyle or your teammates. And then within battles, we also want more cooperation and like careful use of your different abilities, in addition to just like having your different classes of mechs and what their loadouts are in terms of weapons and utilities.
Great, thank you, Morgan. Just following up onto Ime's question here. When you're saying that you haven't figured out how to make P2E work, Why should people dish out large amounts of money to buy land and property in Supremacy World?
So I think that was a misunderstanding of how that question was answered. We know how to make this economy work. The tough questions that are answered over time is balancing economic levers and building a basically a big enough player base and economic flow to make it possible. And then making sure that the incentives that you create from that that distribution of funds, if you will, don't ruin gameplay. And that is just always a moving target. And I don't think there'll ever be a perfect implementation of that. And you know, I would never promise that. What I will promise is that we won't go down the same line as a lot of other Web3 projects where we just hand out tokens based, you know, just for participating. That results in it only having value from a Ponzi-nomics perspective, which is you have to buy something to get into the game with the tokens that are then handed back out. That's a purely Ponzi scheme, and we won't do that. I mean, we'll definitely put tokens into budgets to distribute to, you know, incentivize gameplay and bring new people in, you know, reward them for being in our game and performing needed functions in the game. But we'll never put up a barrier that requires tokens to enter just so that we can hand them out to everyone else. That's not sustainable. And what we were getting at is that results in like the value of the project itself and the playability and fun of the game descending. And I think there's a lot of projects that have proven that you can't often. I actually have never seen a project recover from that, and I'm happy to be proved wrong. But what that means is that our economic solution to this problem is far more complex, and it means that reaching some kind of nirvana is, it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of participation from our community. So, you know, when Yumiyu asks, why should people, purchase these packs? Look, I would never promise returns on these things. That's it's not a claim that we would ever make. Will they be able to generate, resources and assets in the game world? For sure. That's the purpose of land and mining and resource farming. Would we say that that's a replacement for your job? No. So why would you buy these packs? Look, if that was your only intention, then then maybe this is not the correct project for you. And I would hope that the people buying the founders packs are those that support and the project and like participating, and are on this journey with us. So this is a financial product. I want to make that so super clear. The founders pack is not an investment, an investment product. We are not financial advisors, and if that's the only thing you get out of Supremacy, then there's probably better ways for you to spend your time.
Yeah, Alex has clarified the sort of stuff I was talking about very succinctly there. It's important to remember that the thing about Supremacy is that it is also a game, and that we need to make sure that it is fun and balanced and enjoyable, so that we are able to build a strong, large, and sustainable player base. Like Alex was talking about, he used the word sustainability a couple of times, and that's like the big thing in my mind when it comes to designing the economic systems and how they all interact, which is that we need this game to be sustainable. Like a lot of other examples of play to earn games have been unsustainable in that where a lot of the income comes from is from people joining the game and buying things off people who are already there. And the moment that you stop getting new players, you stop having a new income stream. And that basically, causes things to just kind of fall apart. And that is something we cannot have happen. We have to avoid that at all costs. Sustainability has to be, at the forefront of our minds in a lot of decision making and designing processes. So if somebody is hoping or expecting or wondering if they might get some kind of return on like what it is that they get from the game, or being able to play it and generate some kind of income from that, firstly I would echo Alex in saying that like this, you shouldn't expect this to be able to be a replacement for a job. Like this is a game first and foremost, and like what we want to enable here is people being able to do things with like the assets and things that they generate from spending their time in this game. We want them to be able to resell them or do other things with them other than strictly what we dictate in like an all game sense, in how like a lot of other games out there exist. We want to give more control over those items and assets to players who own them, and that means the way that a lot of like the economic return or like income or produce from those things is going to come from having a vibrant, thriving economy within the game's systems, and that requires a sustainable player base that has people not only joining but also staying. And that means we need the game to be fun, we need the game to be balanced, and we need the game to be, have the longevity that means that people will keep playing it and keep wanting to either put more money into it or, exchange, sell their assets and use them to buy other things and just all kinds of stuff. Like it has to be, an actual circular economic system, and that will take time, and how some of those systems will interact with the battle arena or Supremacy World are things that we haven't yet figured out. But in terms of like short-term stuff, we figured those out. Like I was giving examples earlier about how that's going to interact with like the new secondary currency, with the new consumables, the land and resources system, all that kind of stuff. Like we know what we're doing with those. It's not that we haven't figured those out. But in terms of like the long term other elements and like ensuring that the game is sustainable no matter what we add, we're going to have to work some of that out as we get more data and more information, and as the player base grows, because there isn't decades of examples for us to learn from. We're in a pretty new space still that we are figuring out and finding out about new things about it every day from other projects or from our own experiences so far working on Supremacy and the community that we have here. So and obviously like I'm not a big cryptocurrency or NFT expert, so obviously I'm always gonna probably misspeak on certain topics. So like always ask like Alex or John or Matt about those. I'm here to design economic systems within the game, and I've got to be aware of how they interact with the tokens and the coins and the NFTs and all that. But there are going to be times where I'm going to phrase something in a way that might not quite work for exactly the coin or token interactions. In the same way that I'm going to keep getting confused about certain terminologies as well. There are some terms that are like a bit of a joke with me around the office, where like certain terms will confuse me a lot sometimes.
Staking
I think in
still
terms
confuses Morgan.
Yeah.
Which is fun. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, economic fundamentals can be seen, in what we're building, and the idea of a circular flow model, which has been mentioned a few times. I mean, you've got consumers on one side, you've got producers on the other side. They're the essential components of the circular flow, and so one person's spending is another person's income. In this case, in the metaverse, more of the producers, they might not be producing physical goods, obviously, but services. And so that's where player syndicates can offer different services. So you have a circular flow model between essentially those two elements that feed each other, consumption and production. And as the economy expands and more economic velocity happens, that's where we get more granular and more opportunities will arise for people to provide different services. And that's the tin tax. That's essentially where we're at, I think. And the beauty of this project is that we have, as I've mentioned before, we've got 3 separate cities, 3 separate territories, and a underlying economic driver, which is mech production, and the battle arena that supports that, and all the other services that come with the battle arena. So 3 growing cities, large economic drivers. Looking at the white paper, it's pretty exciting what's in the white paper. Seeing the roadmap, I think, there's a lot of reasons to be bullish about, what we're doing and what we're building, and playing the game, having fun, and that's why it's just so awesome to have Morgan on board, because Morgan just sees it through the lens of game design, game development, making it playable, making it fun. And I think other people who've played some of those other games, those card games or whatever, they're not fun. I mean, there's a whole bunch of crypto games which are just boring, and hopefully the sector has moved beyond those, and I think that we're sort of pioneering in a way in this new space, and this new sort of broad and vast economy, which is multifaceted. So I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah, great answers. Thanks, Morgan. Thanks, Matt. All right. Well, yeah, I think we got that covered. It's not that you won't be able to earn within the world of Supremacy. It's that you've got to do more than just play. There's you have to create, you have to contribute, and yeah, I think we've explored that at least as deep as we should go in this AMA. And maybe we'll do a blog post that really outlines. I think I might, that really outlines kind of my vision for this sector, and where I think these kind of projects, including our own, will go. Anyway, let's. I think we're up to 4 hours now, which is nuts. Thanks to everyone who is still listening. I'm amazed by how many people we've actually been able to retain. More than 50%, which is stunning. Let's go. I don't know. Final question. Is there another question, Raj, that needs to be answered still?
I think all the questions that needed to be asked have been asked. I think we can ask, I think, one more question here. It's a clear question. Currently, we see all mechs on the mini-maps at times. Will this ever change in future game modes to require visual line of sight, or perhaps the aid of sensors or scouts to reveal mechs on the map?
So I think if you don't mind, Morgan, I think I'm just going to answer this one really quickly, and then we'll just end it there, and Morgan might go into more detail in chat in Discord. But the current thing we're playing with is different modes of interfacing with the battle arena. Gives you different information, and a core part of that gameplay will be communicating that information to, say, mech pilots and things like that. So you may be in a command role, and your job is to make sure that your pilots are not in the dark. So they won't have the same kind of vision that you have, essentially up in the sky, right? So yeah, that's definitely something that's already well within Morgan's sights as big part of the gameplay. If Morgan wants to go into any more detail on that, I think we'll do it in chat because
yeah, I have a one-sentence answer to it, which is basically when the desktop client and gameplay is added, we'll be able to do fog of war. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there'll definitely be elements of fog of war, and like I said, the different positions that people take in the battle arena will mean different informational vectors that part of their job will be communicating. All right. Well, I see there's not been any more new questions asked in Discord, and again, like I'm so I'm so appreciative of the people who stayed with us all the way to the end, and the chat that's been going on in Discord has been really awesome, and I hope people are happy with the answers we've given, even to some of the hard questions. And I apologize, there's a lot of questions that we can't answer concretely, and part of that, like I think I say this in every AMA, is our commitment to never over promising, even if we talk in ambition and we talk about where things will get to. I think we'll always do our best to make it clear what that means from a timeline and roadmap perspective. So if you felt your question wasn't answered completely, then I hope you'll forgive us, but we'll always maintain that sense of transparency and honesty with our answers in these AMAs and in anything we put out. So yeah, thanks everyone. That was a really fun AMA. Thanks for hosting, Raj. You did a great job keeping track of all those questions, and it was fun seeing the AMA flow like it used to back in the bull run days. So that was was cool.
Yeah, thanks, Raj. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
And thanks, Matt. Thanks, Morgan. Always a pleasure. And yeah, I mean, it's not surprising that the three of us can talk for almost 4 hours. So it's probably a good thing no one else came up on stage.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so guys, if you missed anything during this AMA or you joined late, this will be up on YouTube very soon. And you can just re-watch it again, re-listen to it. If there's any more questions, please put them back into the live AMA chat, and then we'll get to them as well afterwards. In the meantime, follow Alex, follow Supremacy, follow the whole Ninja team on Twitter, and you might see some interesting leaks on those as well. Yeah, have a great weekend, guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.